Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, DJ Hamilton, DJ Sports Show. If you're watching YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button and share anybody you know who loves sports. And if you're listening to audio platforms from Spotify, Apple, etc., leave a 5-star rating, share anybody you know. Here with my guys, Armani Jackson out in California and Dylan Bruton out in Rochester, New York. We're going to talk some NBA draft. How you doing, fellas?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Doing good.
Good to see you, man.
Hey, the draft's almost here. Wednesday night, officially. I know you guys been watching a lot of college basketball, especially you, Armani.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I said this episode, we're going to do our lottery edition. We're going to talk from 1 to 14, and then the next episode, we'll do the mid first round to the end of the first round. So that's how we're going to do it for this episode, just to split up and have more content. That's why it's not too long for each episode, just make it more concise. So first things first, ladies and gentlemen, the first pick, this draft coming in 2025 is way better than last year's draft. Last year's draft, it was one of the most lackluster classes since 2000. It was the least fanfare, not a lot of high-end talent. Nobody was really looking forward to it. No one even cleared, really, to be honest, to be fair, not to take anything away from the rookies, but nobody really cared who won Rookie of the Year. Even though respect to you, Stephon Castle, but it was a weak rookie class. It was, to me, the weakest rookie class I've seen since 2013. The year Giannis came in and CJ McCollum. The year that had Rudy Gobert. But this year's draft class is really good. There's some guys who I think will be all-stars in this class. I think there's some sleepers in this class. We're going to get to it in this part, and then probably some in the next part as well. Some guys who I think people are sleeping on. I think they're going to be really good NBA players, and maybe even potential an all-star down the line. I think some people are sleeping on. But yeah, let's get right into it. So the first pick, we have the Dallas Mavericks. Somehow they got the first pick. I don't know how this happened.
Yeah, still pretty crazy to think about.
Like, I'm sure y'all jaws dropped when we saw the Dallas Mavericks win the first pick. The fact that you traded away generational talent, Luka Doncic, and then you get the riches again to pick a guy who many have going number one in Cooper Flag to Duke, which I also have here in my mock draft, the Duke forward. I mean, what else can there really be said about Cooper Flag? Some people are high on him, some are not. I'm on the high end of the spectrum. I mean, this guy is an ultimate Swiss Army knife. He can do it all, man. Instrumental in Duke's success, and he exceeded the hype this year. He was just the fourth freshman to win National Player of the Year. He joined KD, AD, and Zion as the only other people to do it. He's one of 3 freshmen, KD, Michael Beasley, with the others, to average 19-plus points, 7-plus rebounds, 4-plus assists, a steal, and a block, while shooting 45% from the field and 35% from 3, while having 8-plus win shares. So this is a guy, yes, he might not be, some people say he's not elite at one thing, but he's a multifaceted guy who can do many things on the basketball floor. One thing I love is his motor, and that's something I've said since he was in high school that really stood out to me. He's the rare prospect to me that his defense was better to me and stood out to me more than even his offense. His offense was good. I was like, I've rarely ever seen a prospect, probably other than Anthony Davis, whose defense stood out to me at such a pristine level that was ahead of their offense. And he, to me, at that age, was even more advanced than Anthony Davis was in high school. So that's what's special to me. His hands, his instincts. He averaged 3 stocks per game. He moves well laterally on the perimeter. He's a guy who can guard from the 1 through 4. I think once he gets stronger, maybe when he gets stronger later down the line, he can guard some small ball 5s at the next level. But he has a great straight line driver. He's adept at attacking the shifting defense. He shot over 55% on post-ups this year. He has high IQ for the game, and he has a high IQ and also on making reads and high posts, finding open teammates in the corner. And he has a lot of great high-low action with him and Maluwatch this past season. One thing he needs to work on, though, he kind of has a rigid handle. I think his handle, when he tries to cross over guys and stuff like that, it kind of loses the ball. He needs to tighten up his handle a little bit, especially when Kyrie Irving's going to be out for the majority of the season or all next season. He's going to be looked at to be the secondary ball handler, maybe behind Spencer Dinwiddie, and sometimes even the primary guy as a playmaker. So that's something he's going to have to really try to improve on. And I also want to see him continue to make, even though he's made strides in it, make more strides in his jumper, get that more consistent. But I think I don't really think there's much weaknesses in his game. Just get stronger, improve his handle. I think he's going to fit well in Dallas and what they have going on. But yeah, I'm on the high end of the spectrum. I know some people are like, oh, he's Christian Laettner. Some people think he could be Larry Bird. Some say Andrea Karolinko. Some say Scottie Pippen. My comparison for him is Karolinko and Scottie Pippen. I think he's going to be a star at the next level, maybe one of the highest end complimentary players. Maybe like what we see with J-Dub doing right now in the finals. I feel like Cooper Flag could play at that type of level.
Whoever wants to open. I guess I'll take it. I guess I'll take point.
Yeah, you got it. I'll go after you.
I agree in your assessment. I think the thing with Cooper, with his game that you brought up, which I was glad you brought up, was that his defense is ahead of where his offense is. And as a Duke fan, I'm a little biased towards all my guys, him, Kaman, Khan, but that's definitely the biggest takeaway that you could take from watching his game is that his defense is advanced, it's ahead of its time, and he also is unafraid to play ugly games. He doesn't need to dominate the ball to provide an impact. He doesn't need to be, putting up the prettiest of stat lines. And that's a rare quality in a player in today, for one, and a player also with the amount of hype and fanfare as a Cooper Flag. But moving forward, yes, the shot creation is definitely something that has to work and that he has to work on and improve on. He's got to get stronger. His jumper has to be more consistent. But these are things that are fixable. And if you're Dallas, I mean, they've got enough of a roster that is going to be competitive, where I think that throwing him into the fire early is going to be the best thing for his development, because he's not a player that you're going to want to have sitting on the bench watching from someone. No, you want him to go out there, learn, grow, make his mistakes, and evolve from there. And I think that the comparison of Karolinko and Pippen is a good one. I've heard some people say, kind of like Kawhi and Tatum fused together, which I think is an insane player if you really if you think about those two players. But I just feel like as a player, his biggest key is going to be making sure that he develops those standout skills, defensively, with his athleticism, with his hustle, just because sometimes the worst thing to be in life is a jack of all trades, but a master of none.
Yeah.
But I think his versatility, I think that's going to be built upon as his foundation. And I think that, it wouldn't be out of the possibility, but it would be a surprise if by 5 years he wasn't an all-star, at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
What do you think, Armani?
I mean, the thing for him with Cooper Flag, I feel like it's really good to put yourself in a situation like Dallas. I mean, you see a lot of talent throughout the years that go number one overall. They're going to a very bad situation, or they're going to a more rougher situation than most. I was really surprised Dallas, obviously trading Luka Doncic, and then you end up getting the number one overall pick. It's pretty wild to me. I was literally watching the Bleacher Report
is it rigged
on YouTube. Yeah, and I wasn't at home, so I couldn't watch it on TV, but just watching it on YouTube live, and I was just like, bro, this is so rigged, but it doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, look, like the odds landed in their favor. I was at the Final Four, and I got to see Cooper Flag play. I really feel he is a good gamer. I feel like he has a very high
you gotta
motor.
tell us about that trip at the end, man.
Yeah, most definitely will. But
yeah,
I just honestly feel like it's a good opportunity for him, because he's not going to have everything figured out right away. Obviously, the expectation would be in the best overall player. You're expected to try to win, Rookie of the Year, first team all rookie team, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, he's going into a place where he's a complementary piece. You got Anthony Davis, if healthy. You got Kyrie Irving when healthy. You got Klay Thompson, who can still shoot the ball pretty good. Max Christie is a good developing player. Like, he has pieces around him. Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, if they don't lose those pieces. PJ Washington, Jaden Hardy too. Another dog on that team that just needs more time.
It's like a really nice.
It's a good situation to be a part of, and that's the thing I keep saying is like I've been telling people, I say he really doesn't need to do a lot as long as he's a complementary piece on that team and he helps support. He's going to develop as time accrues. You're playing with Anthony Davis, and that's literally probably an inch taller than him, maybe two. Like his Coop Flag's listed at 6'9".
Yeah.
I think he has ability to be able to space the floor out. DJ did mention about how his handle is. It is a little bit wobbly, a little bit when it comes to trying to break people down.
Yeah.
But I think being in a pace in the NBA, he'll be able to develop. He's really good when the back to the basket. I will say that. Like he knows how to be able to post you up and get to his spot and anchor in. He has good body control inside. And I think that will benefit him well on that team.
This season.
Yeah, for sure. So I think he'll be good in that situation. I look at Duke all the time, and I always appreciate their prospects and the players that they have. But the thing about Coop, I do like that he's an all-around player. So you don't really have to worry about, if he's not playing good offensively, what is he going to do defensively? Or if he's not playmaking, what is he going to do coming down transition? Like he's able to do everything well. And like Dylan said, it could hinder him a little bit, but at the same time, being in the NBA, and we haven't been there, we don't know what it's like, but you got to find your niche. And once you find that and you're able to like lock in on that, you'll be a really good player no matter what role you're in. I mean, we were watching the finals and you see Aaron Nesmith, like his run in the playoffs. Nobody really knew about him like that. I know Dylan probably knew him when he was on the Celtics, but now he's like literally like a valued small forward that can shoot the three pretty well.
Aaron Nesmith.
Yeah. So all it comes down to is literally just being a valued. All it comes down to is like being a valued player. I feel like for him, obviously the hype's going to be surrounded around him, being that he's the number one overall prospect. But at the same time, I just think that he really doesn't need to have that much pressure that he may feel or may think that is on him because he's in a good situation. So I'm really excited for him, though. I think it's a really good opportunity for him going to Dallas.
Yeah. What you guys think is like the high? You said so. Highest ceiling we have for him is like what? Pippen, Kawhi. His ceiling.
Yeah. Like
Scotty,
I think
Kawhi.
Pippen, Kawhi.
Scotty. Yeah, I have Scotty.
I think floor wise, he's like Gordon Hayward with edge.
That's what I was going to say. I would say Gordon Hayward role player wise though, not Gordon Hayward in Utah, like when he was an all-star or like all-star level type Gordon Hayward before injury,
before he got hurt, before he got
the bag. Yeah.
Well, I would say like his floor is Gordon Hayward post injury of like you still a contributor, but you're not the guy that the team is going to game plan for and around. And I mean that might make people look at him differently and go as far to say, oh, he hasn't lived up to his potential, but I don't see that scenario playing out personally. Like I just think that there's too much going for him, and he's too much of a basketball fanatic to let himself not reach his highest possible ceiling. Barring injury, knock on wood. That's the only thing that I could really see preventing him from becoming a star. And I mean, elephant in the room, the league has been looking for a white American star since Bird. He checks off the box.
He has the best chance.
His name is Flag. Okay, you don't get more American
Wave
than
the flag. Wave the American flag.
Oh, there goes. Wave the flag. I love that Cooper. I love that Cooper fella.
You already know that's going to happen if he pans out. You already know that's going to happen. Nah, you already know.
Because look, think about the WNBA right now, right? They for years, right? All of a sudden, Caitlin Clark hits the scene. I really like that women's basketball, but I sure love that Caitlin Clark. It's going to be the same type of impact going to a team like Dallas, which has been known for, Dirk, Luka, Steve Nash, a lot of white stars. So I think, I'm a brother who's rooting for Cooper, and I'm rocking with Cooper heavy, but I also can't ignore the obvious now.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, that's very true.
You call it what it is.
That's very true. Now we'll get to the next Texas team at number 2. At San Antonio Spurs. This is a team that has already a lot of young talent. This is a team that is in the odds to potentially get KD, so we don't know if they'll trade this pick or not. But I feel like at number 2, they're going to select Dylan Harper, Rutgers guard, 6'5", 6'10" wingspan, 220 pounds. This guy already has an NBA-ready body. At 19 years old, he's a teenager. He is a strong finisher at the rim. He's 68% at the rim this past season. And as a half-court scorer, he's pretty efficient too, 65% from the field. This guy is a lefty. He gives you kind of like a Jalen Brunson and some Cade Cunningham vibes, and a little bit of James Harden. This guy's a skilled lefty ball handler, adapt at scoring the ball on all three levels. His three-point shot can get a little bit better, 33% from three, but he scored the most total points ever by Rutgers freshman, 564 this past season, and the second most all time. He has excellent footwork. He has instinctive counters. He utilizes this like spin move on when he ever go driving to the basket, behind the back dribbles. He has a nifty handle. He knows how to read defenders' hips and momentum to get them off bounce, stuff like that. He also puts a lot of pressure on the defense in both directions and gets them off guard. And I feel like him and Wemby, that pick and roll, if they were to keep him and not trade him away, man, that would be dangerous because Wemby has a pick and roll or pick and pop threat with his size, his handle and skill at 7'4" will be dangerous. And then also playing with guys like Stephon Castle, Keldon Johnson. If they were to keep those guys and not trade them away to get like a KD or a Giannis Antetokounmpo, if they were to keep that young core, I feel like, man, that would be a great young core that could potentially down the road. Wemby continues to progress. He's 245 now. I saw they on a Bleacher Report just mentioned today. He's getting stronger. And if Dylan Harper become like the all-star guard people are saying he could become, he's getting compared to Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham. And then you also have De'Aaron Fox there. I almost forgot him. I'm like, how are they going to play that backcourt? Yeah. But the fact that Dylan Harper is 6'5", he could play at the 2. And if he improves his shooting, you could probably move Stephon Castle to the 3, play Keldon Johnson a small ball 4, something like that. Wemby's at the 5. Hey, San Antonio, if I'm you guys, because if you traded him and he becomes one of the best guards in the league one day, and you try to get KD, who has like 2 years left in the league, you're going to regret it. And I love KD, but he hasn't been impacting winning for a few years now. So if I'm them, if you're trading anybody, I'll only do Giannis. But other than that, I'm keeping my assets. I'm keeping Dylan Harper, and I'm trying to build for the future. So I feel like him with Wemby, man, that pick and roll, sign me up for the next 5-10 years, man, with that. So I got Dylan Harper at number 2.
What you thinking, Armani? You look deep at thought.
I think the same thing. The thing about San Antonio I feel is tough is the overflow of guards. You know, you got De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle.
Yeah.
But this is a draft class that's really talented and good, and you got to go with the best available talent. Not even trying to diss or shade last year's draft class, but it wasn't really impactful when it came to contribution from star players or like them having an exceedingly great role. Shout out to Stephon Castle though, because I feel like he did deserve Rookie of the Year. I liked Stephon since he was at UConn during his Final Four run and everything. Thing about Stephon, you know, he couldn't really shoot the 3 ball that good, but he's a dog. San Antonio's growing up. And they're growing a good team. So I feel like that's just another situation for Dylan Harper going into a team like that. They can improve and grow. He doesn't really have to do a lot to show who he is. But I did watch his highlights. I did see his tape. He is really good at getting to the basket. I will say that. His handle, he's not even necessarily the word is explosive, but he just is good at getting that first step on you. He can get a first step on you, and he's like his boom, boom, a quick boom, boom move, and he's gone. And he's going up to the rim. The spin move that he does, too, I have seen that. I think his shooting can improve. That's one crippling fact about him.
Yeah, but 36% on catch and shoot threes, 25% on guarded threes when I was watching videos.
So that'll be something. That'll be something I think he'll need to improve. If San Antonio doesn't make the trade for the pick, because obviously it could happen, you never know with Kevin Durant or Giannis. But I think that would be a safe lock to draft him. De'Aaron Fox obviously is a good piece to have on a team. He provides a lot of impact as a point guard. In my opinion, De'Aaron Fox is a top player in the NBA when it comes to the guards in the NBA. Obviously, his situation, I feel like in Sacramento hasn't always been the best, so he kind of got hindered out a bit. But I think it would be good for him to learn and develop under a program like not even a program, a franchise organization like the San Antonio Spurs, where he'll be able to have pieces around him that can help support. And then, like you said, too, Steph Castle is like 6'6", I think, or something like that. You can easily, a typical wing player, even now, you can be 6'6" and run the 3. You can run him, you can run Dylan Harper, and you can even run De'Aaron can play the 2. if you really want to. Or you can have him play the 1 and have Dylan Harper play the 2 guard and run combo guards. And I think what we're going to start seeing a lot of now, especially with the how tall our guard is now, being 6'6", around 6'6", 6'4", 6'4" to 6'6". My bad. I think you'll be able to start seeing a lot more combo guards at that same range. And I think it will be a lot more effective for teams to be able to play a lot faster, get up court. And we're kind of seeing a big trend, I feel like, in that. And I think, and count me on it, I think it will be a good benefiting factor for that team. It'll take a lot of pressure off of Wemby, because I think Wemby obviously he gets strained out, and obviously it can lead to injuries, fatigue, and all that. But overall, I think Dylan Harper's a good prospect, and obviously you see him and Ace Bailey. Obviously, I will talk about Ace, but I think Ace had a lot of more hype. But I really think, and I'm really proud that Harper exceeded exceeded those expectations, and literally became the leader, became the guy of the team, like dogged out his competition. Even though he didn't have a great year at Rutgers, but he showed out, and I will give him that. And obviously, he has his father that played in the league too as well. Like, he has NBA like mindset, mentality, DNA in him. So I feel like he'll succeed and thrive. What you think, Dylan?
Yeah,
agree.
How about you, Dylan?
Well, I mean, no bias, but he's my favorite prospect in this draft. Not just because he's
I would say so for me too.
But I really enjoy watching him, man. Like, the thing that impressed me the most is his efficiency. I know, like, there still is work he has to do as a 3-point shooter, but the fundamentals are there. He shoots a beautiful shot. He gets to the rim well, creates space well, and he finishes well. He shot 48% from the field, despite being the primary, offensive ball handler, guy with the most amount of attention on him. Because, yes, I mean, you did have Ace Bailey there, but Ace Bailey wasn't going to be a play initiator the way that Dylan Harper was. So that put a lot more pressure on the Dylan, and I felt like he rose to the occasion. You know what I'm saying? He had 37 against Alabama. They lost that game by 5, but he went 11 for 19 in that game. In the previous game, he went 12 for 22 against Notre Dame with 36 points. And he got 16 free throw attempts. He made 15 out of them. He had 6 boards, 6 assists. In 2 games versus USC, because they played them in the Big Ten tournament, he averaged 26 points per game, 5 boards, 8.5 assists, a block, 4 steals on 45% shooting, 31 from 3, and 100% from the free throw line. And they lost, unfortunately, in the Big Ten tournament. Otherwise, they might have been able to clinch like a final seed spot. And they lost, in a double overtime. And granted, that 15-17 record was ugly, but I don't think it was an indictment on his skill. You know what I'm saying? I think that he, as a player, I don't even think we've seen his potential as a point guard fully like meshed out and sort of seen. Because there was a couple comparisons that I liked that he got. One was to Darren Williams, and I
didn't think about that one. I like that one. Yeah,
people Darren Williams is a top point guard in the NBA at one point in time too.
Bro, there was a debate him and Chris Paul at 05 draft.
Yeah,
as pure of a point guard as he was,
or in the 08 Olympics together.
People forget there was a time period where it was after Boozer had left, after Kirilenko had left, or it was like starting to fall off. It was around that time.
It was a fall off, I think. Yeah.
That was where D. Will was like, "I'm a bucket getter. Don't get this twisted."
D. Will can get buckets for sure too.
Yeah, and so I see
he was a big, strong guard, like 6'4", 6'5".
Big, strong,
not freakishly athletic, but he could use his strength to maneuver and bump defenders off of him.
Exactly. And then another comparison that I liked. I liked Jalen Williams. I see that, and if he gets his defensive ability to what Jalen's is, you've knocked that pick out. You've knocked that pick out the park. That's a home run. Drew Holiday's another name, and people forget that Drew Holiday in high school prior to going to UCLA was basically John Wall with a jumper. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was basically a taller kind. He was like, just the way that he would have the ball on the string and how easy he made it look. It was ridiculous. He goes to USC, and Ben Howland didn't really know.
You mean UCLA? UCLA he went to.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, UCLA.
Oh, you say USC.
That's a USC. Oh,
yeah,
you good. Other side of the hood.
Yeah, my bad. Let me do right. You know, I don't want no smoke if I gotta go check in. But
that boy already know.
I'm good anywhere I go. I'm good anywhere I go. But Drew Holiday, right? He played under Ben Howland, and he was playing next to Darren Collison. So it was kind of tough because he had to learn how to be a 2 guard, but he was really a 1. And he, you know, that system was not going to let him really just be out there saucing people up. Versus where Dylan Harper, you saw that, you know, he had the freedom to do that, and he showed that at least like he kept Rutgers competitive. You know, I would say sometimes even more than. Yeah. And I really like Ace as a prospect, but there's too much of a hot and coldness with him. Versus with Dylan, you could see the consistency, just time and time out. He's not a big talker. He lets his game do the talking, and I feel like his potential. I think he has the potential to step in the league right now and average the most amount of points out of everyone in this class. Just like pure points, just scoring wise. And on efficient percentages too. Whether he goes to San Antonio or he gets traded to the Bucks or the Suns, whatever.
So you think he's the best scorer from this class?
Well, I think it's some combo between him, Trey Johnson, and Ace Bailey. It's one of the 3. Pick your poison. But in terms of who I think is going to translate the most automatically to putting up numbers near what he put up in college, I think it's Dylan.
Okay. So we all have Dylan Harper going number 2 to San Antonio.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this is where
this is where it gets really interesting.
This is where it gets interesting because before all these reports came out, number 3, I had Ace Bailey from the Rutgers. For all these reports,
it would be the Sixers too. Of all teams, it would be the Philadelphia 76ers to be in the situation.
I was debating on, man, once these reports came, I'm like, man, should I change this? I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna go like everybody else and have him slipping. I'm gonna keep my point, and I'm gonna keep him at number 3. I feel like Daryl Morey, he's gonna be like, oh, you know, Daryl Morey's kind of a little crazy. So he might be like, you know what? I like this kid. He's polarizing. He has a lot of talent. You know what? He wants to try to slip. Nah, we're going to take him. We're going to keep him. So I'm going to keep him at number 3. So I got number 3. I got Ace Bailey, Rutgers forward, 6'10", 210 pounds, 18-year-old kid, 7-foot wingspan. I mean, I've been telling this. I've done a Hoops Habit article on him because I feel like he was getting underrated because Rutgers, they didn't have the great outside of him and Harper. They didn't really have much quality talent around them to build a great, solid infrastructure around them to have a real solid team to make a run in the NCAA tournament. But some of his strengths I have, man, nuclear athlete. I feel like he's one of the best athletes in this class. Shot making ability, and he has elite 2-way upside if he could tap into it. I feel like he's like a raw, what's it called? You know how you have clay, and you know if you mold it into something and put it and treat it right and meld it into something nice and polish it, it could be a great piece of art. I feel like that's Ace Bailey. I feel like he has so much raw talent. In my opinion, he might be the best shot maker in this class when he's clicking on all cylinders. In terms of like 3-pointers, getting to the rim, dunking on people, stuff like that. He has great mechanics on his shot. He gets significant elevation. He's 6'10", so he can shoot over a lot of people. Not a lot of people are going to block his shot. He even has a little Dirk fadeaway. When I was watching some film, he has a little Dirk fadeaway in his shot. I'm like, oh, and he has nice touch on his shot. He shot 60% on floaters and runners this past season. And I feel like he's a guy who doesn't really need the ball in his hands a lot. He's not ball dominant. He can play off the ball. He reminds me a little bit of like Michael Porter Jr. And I'm going to say it, but I think I listened to Boogie Cousins say this or somebody else. But I was like, man, I thought of that too. He reminds me a little bit of a young, raw Toronto T-Mac. Like the athleticism. He's not fully there yet, polish-wise. But if he can go to the right team that can develop him properly, ladies and gentlemen, look out. You heard it here. A lot of people are not comparing him to it, but I think he's like a young Toronto T-Mac, like fresh out of high school, not fully polished yet, but if he goes to the right team that develops him and everything starts clicking, I think he could be one of the best scorers in the NBA one day if it all goes right. I mean, he averaged 1.05 points per possession off ball screens. He's a good pick and pop player, and I want to see him get more consistent on the defensive end. I feel like he has the tools to be a great defender, but he sometimes can kind of lapse. Also, his ball handling can get better. He needs to tighten his handle, kind of like Cooper Flag. I feel like his ball handling at 6'10", if he could get that a little tighter, this is like kind of like Michael Porter Jr. His handle has gotten better in his career, but he's not like someone who's going to create his own shot really off the dribble. He kind of gets set up by Jokic. I feel like Bailey, though, and he also reminds me a little bit of Jabari Smith Jr. a little bit. I feel like that's his like floor. Jabari Smith Jr. His ceiling to me is T-Mac. I feel like that would be my comparison. I think he needs to get stronger. He's a kid. He's 18. That will come with time. It's like a lot of people in any sport. If you're young, you're going to gradually get stronger over time. So I'm not worried about that. I want to also see him get stronger because utilize his size and finish better through contact. He only shot 50% on layups, 42% in the half court. I want to see him get better at his shot selection. Kind of take some contested jumpers, sometimes over two defenders. I'm like, you don't have to force that. It's an easier shot right there for your teammate, right open three. Just to make the easy, simple play sometimes. And also learn how to make his teammates better. He only had 12 assists and 15 turnovers in the first 15 games in the season, and 26 assists and 30 turnovers in the last 15. I want him to not just be a tunnel vision type of guy. Like if your shot ain't falling, affect the game in other ways, whether defensively, making your teammates better, things like that nature. So try to diversify your game. Don't be a one-dimensional, one-trick pony. If you're not scoring, find ways to impact the game in other ways. But yeah, I would say he reminds me of guys like Michael Porter Jr., Jabari Smith Jr., Rashard Lewis. That's a comparison I haven't seen, but he reminds me of Rashard Lewis. Yeah, 6'10", sniper, put on the floor a little bit, especially like young Rashard Lewis, like Seattle Rashard Lewis. So he reminds me of him.
He was nice.
But yeah, his ceiling to me is Tracy McGrady. I feel like he has the talent, the raw build, athleticism, the shot making. He puts it all together. He goes to the right team to develop him. He's going to be special. And if he drops and he turns into that, team's going to be kicking themselves for years. So I still have him going number 3 because I feel like Philly's going to look at that and be like, man, I know he's doing this right now, but if he turns into something special, we're going to regret it. Especially with Embiid's injury history. Paul George is looking like he's on the decline. That's something you got to think of in the back of your head.
That's fair. Well, I'm going to say this personally. If we're just going pure talent,
he might be the most talented.
Raw, intangible talent. He is the most talented player of this draft class.
Yeah,
like it's kind of weird how like this all plays out. Like Cooper is the most polished all around prospect, going number 1, no question. Dylan Harper to me is like the most ready to step in day one, be a lead scorer, be a lead ball handler. But pure talent, nothing else, nothing more. Ace got it. But I think that this will be I think what has ensued and happened this past week will be enough to cause him to slide. And in turn, I got for pick 3, I got Philly taking Trey Johnson from Texas. Now, let me tell you about
it.
I think he's going to go high up because you got.
Oh, you got him over VJ. And
because I love VJ. I love VJ.
I mean, I have him over VJ too, but not at 3.
Johnson is probably the best pure just scorer. Like it's weird how it works.
Yeah.
But like all 3, like them, Harper, Johnson, and Bailey. And you could low key throw Jeremiah Fears as like first.
Trey Johnson might be the best pure shooter in the draft.
But Trey's the best shooter. Like he's got the most natural. He's got the best jump shot. And I think that he's going to come in and be a heat check right away. You know what I'm saying? He had the best, you could argue the best freshman year of a Texas player since KD. He broke his scoring record in his debut. He broke his scoring record for a Texas freshman in general. He was the SEC freshman of the year. He had 23 points in the loss to Xavier. You know what I'm saying? Stat line was pretty solid, 6 of 14, 4 for 7 from 3. 6 boards, 2 assists. He's been compared to guys like on the high end, like Latrell Sprewell, Rip Hamilton, Allen Houston, Tyler
Ray
Hero.
Allen.
And then on the lower end, guys like Cam Thomas, Nick Young, Alec Burks, OJ Mayo. And all that just screams like a guy who's a scorer, just a pure bucket getter. And looking at Philly right now, they're strongest at the backcourt, but they still are trying to figure out who is going to be the guy that is going to be next to Maxey. Because Maxey, they're building the team around him. But Jared McCain had a really good rookie year, but is he going to be the same player coming off injury? And then size-wise, do you risk having two? Do you risk having a situation like in Portland where you have Dame and CJ, both undersized guards, and neither of them were strong defensively. So do you risk having two potential defensive liabilities? Looking at Cleveland, right, with Mitchell and Darius Garland, kind of similar situation. So I think that they go bigger. I think that they get a guard that they know, if need be, can play the three. Right, you could run a lineup of Trey, Tyrese, and Jared McCain. You could run a lineup with them three. But ultimately, Philly needs someone who is ready to come in and get buckets, because last year their offense was very sloppy. They were not able to put up points consistently, and Paul George was unfortunately a shell of himself when he came back. And that's just not going to cut it if you're a basketball town and city like Philly. They're looking at their team thinking, we have the pieces to be a contender. Barring anything injury wise. So if Joel is healthy, if they're able to, re-sign a guy like Gershon Yabusele, who had a really good year for them as kind of like a big Boris Diaw type of jumbo forward point. And then you have McCain coming back healthy, Maxey playing well, and then you throw in a Trey Johnson who can space the floor, learn from Paul George about how to get his handle more crisp, because he's not the smoothest shot creator off the dribble, which causes him to take a lot of contested shots. But, Paul George is like the T-Mac to kids today coming up in terms of that smooth type of, versatile scorer. And I think someone like Trey Johnson would learn very well under him. And then, defensively, he has to get better. He has to improve on that facet. But, to me, when I watched him, at Texas, he showed a lot of heart. He showed a lot of grit. And, he was someone who, even though, yes, his game is so predicated on scoring now, you could just see with his energy and activity on the court, he's a very relentless type of player. And I think that an environment like Philly would really respond well to that. You know what I'm saying? So I think overall, while, yes, there is a possibility that Philly just ignores everything going on with Ace Bailey's camp and says, you're coming to Philly, whether you like it or not. And if not, we'll work a trade out. We'll figure things out. But I think personally, just given the upside potential and given the ability of stepping in, I got to put Trey at that number 3 spot.
Like that. Okay. What about you, Armani? You have who you have? 3.
I'm kind of stuck. I really don't know if I had to pick because of the
3 is when that's when the draft really starts. That's when it really starts.
Because you already have your, like I said, we talked consensus about 1 and 2. Like 3 is an interesting spot because 3 still has good prospects. You could either go scoring, athleticism, shooting, firepower for upside. Like you have a lot of options. I like Ace Bailey at 3, but I don't like the situation he put himself in with this camp. And because of that, I don't see a place where you as an organization take a risk to take a player like that. But like Dylan said, they could say, I don't care, and we're going to draft you, and you're going to be on our team, and you're going to have to deal with it and suck it up, because that's a business.
Yeah.
But, we're seeing it across. You're seeing it across, like, and it's so annoying. You get drafted and you play where you play, but, like, now you're seeing it, like, even in the NFL, like, I don't know if you guys heard about the dude named Sweat on the Bengals. Like, he got drafted, he hasn't even signed yet, and he hasn't even played a game at all. I think it's Sweat or Stewart. It's one of those dudes. He plays on the Cincinnati Bengals. This is football. Anyways, he hasn't signed his rookie deal yet because he's demanding more money or something like that, which is crazy to me. But either way, you're a rookie. You still have to prove yourself. But going back to that point with the Sixers, like, I just don't like how you get to dictate and determine your fate when you haven't even proven who you are yet. And not to discredit him, but you guys didn't have a good year at Rutgers. Yeah, you scored the ball and you're a top prospect. And like ESPN 100 had him ranked really high at number 2, obviously, coming into this year. So, like, you're obviously going to be a player that people are going to look at throughout the whole year. He scores the ball. He's athletic. He has the talent, but I just don't like the attitude mindset. I think VJ would be a good pick. And the reason why I picked VJ is only because the upside, athletic ability, his ability to be able to be very explosive. I think that's the thing that Philly lacks at times when Tyrese isn't on the court, is upside of explosiveness. VJ, he might not be the best out of those guys at shooting the ball, but he can finish at the rim.
He might be the most raw. He might be the most raw.
He might be the most raw athlete, though. And right. I put him at 3 primarily because I just think that upside is pretty much needed on that team. He's 6'5", I believe it. They said he's like 6'5", and he has a motor that can go. And I think if you have him in that backcourt, even if you take Tyrese out, or even if it's Jared McCain and VJ, I think that's a good strong 1-2 punch, because Jared McCain's not a shot creator. He can create his own shot. He's undersized a bit, but he can create his own shot. VJ, if you give the ball to him off ball, he's going to rip and he's going to the basket straight up and he's going up contact. He's not afraid. I think that's a good pick. Trey Johnson, I like Trey Johnson a lot. I like that Texas, even though they had a little bit of an underwhelming year, a little bit too. But I do like the talent that's at number 3. But if I had to pick, I would say VJ, just for the simple fact of like the raw available talent that is at that position. Ace Bailey should be 3. And I'm not trying to say that he won't, but it's just the situation right now. I don't know if you're, as an organization, especially in the dire need that Philadelphia's in right now, I don't make that move knowing how ugly it can impact that dynamic for Tyrese, how ugly it can make that dynamic impact for Joel Embiid, who's been on this team for all these years and is trying to compete and win a championship. And obviously can't stay fully healthy. You got Paul George there now. He had a lackluster year. You got to make a pick that is safe and that can complement the benefit of not just the team overall, but can complement that locker room as well. So that's like my thought on it.
That's big.
I like that.
I like that as well.
But we could keep it even. We could keep it even at 3, and whatever regard goes down through it. Like, we know that the level of talent after number 2 is really good. So
yeah. No, that's true. So at number 4, now we have the Charlotte Hornets. I got Trey Johnson here, Texas guard. I mean, 6'6", 190, 6'10" wingspan, 6.5, 19 years old. And the reason I kind of have him here, they kind of could use a shooting guard. They don't really need a wing. They got Brandon Miller, got that a few years back. So they don't really need a wing. But this is a team that really struggled shooting the ball last year. I'm looking at it right now. Last year in 3-point percentage, 28th. They're near the bottom of the league. And in 3-point makes, they're 18th last year. Getting a guy in Trey Johnson who probably is the best shooter in this class. Only freshman this season averaged 19-plus points while shooting 39% or better from 3 and better than 85% from the free throw line. Like, this guy is a pure shooter and scorer with a soft touch when he's shooting the basketball. And he also, I looked it up on StatHead, only freshman ever to have those numbers, along with 11-plus 3-point attempts and 4-plus 3-pointers made per 100 possessions. So this guy's not only just shooting the ball at a high clip, he's doing it at a high volume too. So he's a reliable 3-point shooter with the basketball in his hands. And then you have a guy like in LaMelo Ball who could set him up, who is a downhill attacker at the point of attack, making defenses collapse, who could kick out the open shooters. That is heaven right there for a guy like Trey Johnson, because LaMelo Ball is going to bring a lot of attention already. And he can shoot the ball too, LaMelo Ball. For this crazy Pistol Pete type passes, if you got to be ready for the ball, he's going to find you. So Trey Johnson is a perfect fit for the Charlotte Hornets, and he could play the 2. Brandon Miller could play at the 3, and they have a nice little trio they could build on for the future. One thing, like Dylan mentioned earlier, I love his tenacity. He's not just like aloof out there. Yes, you would think a 3-point shooter is someone who doesn't have that killer instinct. No, he has a tenacity about him. He wants to win. He wants to be the best that he could possibly be. And one thing I love about him as well as a shooter, and one thing you want as a scorer, you want them to have a short memory. When he misses a shot, one thing I saw in his film, he's not over there thinking like you're seeing right now in Chet Holmgren in the finals. When he misses a shot, he's kind of putting his head down and overthinking it instead of getting back to the next play. And it's like, okay, next play, we're getting right to it. One thing I love about Trey Johnson, that he's such a young age, when he misses a shot, he's not putting his head down. He's getting right back on defense because he knows next play, it keeps going. The game doesn't stop. And that's one thing I love about him. He has supreme confidence. He plays with a lot of passion in his game. And he's like a microwave scorer. He can heat up very quickly, and he has deep range. He shot 40% on corner threes, 41.5% on guarded trays. And one thing also as well, his handle could get a little better, but I think his shooting is going to be what brings him on the court early on in his career and give a lot of value to him. He's going to see a lot of minutes and that's one thing you want in today's NBA. You got to be able to shoot the ball and space the floor. And he's also kind of a solid passer. I'm not saying he's an elite passer, but he has some playmaking upside. He kind of can find some guys in angles for dump offs, on cuts.
For sure.
Some of his weaknesses, though, he needs to get stronger. He's very skinny, 190, especially at 6'5". That's going to have to get stronger. He only shot 51% at the rim. He doesn't put a lot of rim pressure when attacking the rim due to his skinny frame. He kind of gets bumped off his spots. And since his slight frame, he's going to get targeted defensively at the next level. And I don't think he's going to be a guy who's going to be able to guard multiple positions at the next level, maybe just like the 1 or the 2. He's not going to be able to guard like 3s, 4s due to his lack of strength. But yeah, overall, as a shooter and scorer, I think he fits perfectly with Charlotte and what they have going on and with LaMelo Ball. So I have Trey Johnson at 4. This makes sense. Yeah. What about you, Dylan? Dylan's like, I got 4.
As you'll know, I just had Trey go to Philly, so I got VJ Edgecombe at pick 4.
Ooh.
Now with VJ. One thing I was really impressed by was how well he played on the Bohemians. You know what I'm saying? This past summer, he averaged 16, 5, 4, and 2 steals. And this team, had DeAndre Ayton on it, Eric Gordon, which I had no idea Eric Gordon was Bohemian, but that was a dope thing to find out about. He played really well against Duke. In fact, I would say he was the best player for Baylor on the court that night, even though, him and Norchan Omir were a good duo, but he put up 16, 6 boards and assists and a steal. I think that what I like with VJ's game and what I feel like he would add is he brings that explosiveness, but he also brings that 100%, 110%, no holding back in his game. He brings that type of energy to your roster, your locker room, and looking at the Hornets. And I'm speaking as someone who I lived in Charlotte after I graduated college. I know people who work for the organization, so I got to go to games and I got to see the Hornets up close. And one thing that they lack badly is they lack culture. And they lack those guys that are really like, I will dive into the stands for this loose ball. You know what I'm saying? VJ Edgecombe had a lot of hype going into the season. You know what I'm saying? And he delivered. He averaged 15, 6 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block, 44% from the field, roughly 78 from free throw line, 34 from 3. But he delivers, and they need someone who is going to have that same type of tenacity, that same type of intensity, and inject some energy, because there's a little bit too much of a too cool for school lethargicness that Charlotte has as a franchise, and just watching them on the court. And it makes no sense, because it's like, y'all are losing. Like, what are you acting too cool for? Like, y'all are losing. You're not going anywhere. And you have young talent, but it's not being properly cultivated. And I feel like you throw in a player like VJ next to LaMelo and next to Brandon Miller, it'll inspire both of them to be a lot more tenacious, to be a lot more aggressive, and to just see someone who wants it badly. And I really like the comparisons that I saw with Christian. With VJ, because he had kind of like floor comparisons to guys like Christian Braun, Benedict Mathurin, Victor Oladipo, but then he had ceiling comparisons like Russell Westbrook, which is the one I see a lot. I see a lot of Russ in this game.
Dwayne Wade.
Russ coming out of UCLA, not Russ learning how to be an on-ball player, but Russ, who was just an athletic freak, was able to play offense and defense on a high level really well due to energy and explosiveness. But you could see that there was going to be more to his game. And then,
Dwayne Wade.
D Wade, if he can get to a D Wade level,
that's the highest for me.
You're not complaining.
That's the highest you could possibly get to. Yeah, That's a good comp
You
too.
have a
That's
D
great
Wade
right
next
there.
to a Brandon Miller and LaMelo, you're doing very well. But even a player like Eddie Jones, who was, he was the 2 guard in LA before Kobe. Kobe had to earn his keep playing and practicing against him, and he had a very long successful career. I've even seen some comparisons to Jalen Green, and I feel like he doesn't have the shot creation ability that Jalen Green has, but I feel like he has better shot selection. I think the field goal efficiency was more of an indictment of he was one of the only ball handlers that they had. He was one of their only on-ball players. But I truly see VJ Edgecombe becoming a very efficient player at the next level. So I feel like with Charlotte, they're going to look at it as like, one, it's best player. It's best player available. It might not be quote unquote best player available, but it makes the most sense.
Take the best talent at this portion of the draft early. Take the best talent. That's
Take the best talent because it needs to make sense. There needs to be some momentum and some cohesiveness, and I feel like VJ can bring that. So I'm very excited to see what happens with him because I think he's the rare player of like, I can lead a team in scoring, but I can also be the best defensive player. And two-way players of that caliber, there's not as many in this draft. So I think, you have to take that into account as well. His two-way ability is definitely going to stand out. And I think, he's been handling himself well in the interview process from what I've witnessed. And I think that the Hornets would properly utilize him. Now, do they have the infrastructure and support to truly get the most out of him? That remains to be seen. But I think that VJ is the type of player that they take that chance on.
That's crazy. VJ, I think ceiling is D Wade. Trey Johnson, I said his ceiling is Ray Allen. I think that's pretty good. I think, and Trey, I compared him to Tyler Hero and like a Malik Beasley, and like the low end is
That's
like
not
Alec
bad.
Burks. Yeah. I think Trey Johnson. I feel like if you compare in today's game, I would say Malik Beasley and Tyler Hero, and ceiling, I would say Ray Allen, and I say his floor, Alec Burks. Yeah, that's what he kind of reminds me of. How about you, Armani? Who you got at 4?
I think a thing that Charlotte lacks a little bit of is shooting a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of a wild one. But I'm thinking like plug and play. I think Concanipple would be a good pick.
Ooh, yeah, I'm going 4. Ooh, that's high.
I
like that.
Yeah,
I like that though. He does make sense though. He can shoot.
Yeah, he can.
He's one of the best shooters in the class too.
Yeah, for sure. He's up there with like Trey probably as a pure shooter on that team or like in that class. I picked Con though because I think Con at 6'7", he's not the most athletic player, but he's a grit and grind type of player that will. You guys talked about a player that will inspire somebody to want to compete and win. I think Con will bring that type of energy out being a Duke Blue Devil and the tenacity he played with even in the tournament. Like, I watched the conference tournament and seeing how Coop was out. Con's like, okay, I'm putting this team on my back. We're going to go win this damn game. I like his determination, his will as a player. I think LaMelo being there and having Brandon Miller, you have people that can create. Miles Bridges, even when healthy, like they have good players that can score the ball, no problem. But I'm talking like a complementary piece that can just shoot. A complementary piece that can just come off ball. Kind of like Mikal Bridges does a little bit where how Mikal Bridges will catch corner and he'll drive up to like that free throw elbow and he'll do that fadeaway shot. I think I can see Con being that type of guy to be able to create shots. I don't know how his defensive prowess will be in the NBA because that's yet to be seen a little bit. I know Con was more known for being a complimentary piece with Coop Flag and being able to just, when the team needed a bucket or the team needed somebody to shoot and get a shot off, he was always there and available to make that shot happen. So I think that's a safe pick at 4. I know there's a lot more raw talent. Yeah,
kind of high for Con. I saw him at like 6 to 8 range.
Yeah, they have a lot of other players, like I said, that are more talented, but I'm going for the need and basis on what this this team currently needs, purely for the sake of LaMelo and for Brandon Miller, because Brandon Miller averaged around 20 to 21 points this year. I think he'll continue to make a jump as long as he's healthy and good. I think there will be a climb for those two as a 1-2 punch, and they just need a complementary piece that can help support them. I like your guys' picks because you guys talked about the benefit and impact that those players will have on the team. I feel like they already have them, though, and I feel like that would stifle the development of one, maybe two of those guys, whoever those three may be, if they're all on the court together, for the simple fact that that's a lot of firepower to have. And, I mean, we've seen teams where there's so much firepower and they really don't produce as great as you may want them to because there's already so much fluidity in your ace, your point guard, your ace. And then you got a lot of fluidity in your three. So it's just about balancing, I feel like. And I think that's why I said it's a safe option picking Khan, because Khan will be able to space the floor. He can shoot. He'll be a brute. He'll try to do whatever it takes for that team to compete and win. So that's my pick.
I like that.
I'm not
number 5. What are you gonna say, Dylan?
I said I'm not mad at it.
I agree.
That's good.
So
and number 5, Jazz, right? The Jazz, Utah.
Yeah, we got the Jazz. I got VJ Edgecombe going here. Baylor guard, 6'4", around 195, 6'7", wingspan, 19. I mean, the Jazz. I mean, man. I mean, they need something to get excited about. I mean, they need that crowd. Utah, it's cold up there. They're like, oh, we're paying our money, and we don't have no one really to. The way marketing was good, and then he got paid, and I don't know what happened to brother. But yeah, I don't know what happened to him. But get VJ Edgecombe. You're talking about a nuclear athlete. I mean, this guy has rocket for Cavs. Great finishing ability, defensive upside. He has some playmaking ability too. He's a blur in transition who can explode off the floor equally well off 1 or 2 feet. When he's not the initiator, I mean, he's someone who could take the ball off the glass, start to finish. He has great defensive instincts. He averaged 2.1 steals with a 3.8 steal percentage this season, 2.3 block percentage. He's like a free safety back on the defensive end. He can anticipate passes. He gets into passing lanes for deflections. He knows how to get out in transition. And he's a strong, chiseled frame already. And I feel like he fits perfectly for the Jazz. This is a team last year. They were 17th in points in the paint a game. This is a guy who likes to get to the paint and get to the rim. And they were 24th in fast break points. This is a guy, VJ Edgecombe, who could, as a defensive playmaker, can create transition opportunities as a defensive player who has elite defensive instincts. He can get out in transition. He's quick. He reminds me a little bit, like we said, D Wade. Like, he has great defensive instincts and be able to read what the offensive player is going to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And his stellar defensive awareness is one of the best as I've seen him in a young player. He does chase down blocks. He's a really good help side shot blocker for his size, a la Dwayne Wade. At 6'4", he's kind of a small shooting guard and have that type of athleticism and the instincts to do that. And his wingspan kind of helps him do that. He's a capable three-point shooter. He's still improving, 36.5% on catch and shoot threes, 34% overall. But he also, those are some things I feel like he's good at. He shot near 40% from three during conference play, so that's a good indicator that he can be a capable three-point shooter and reliable. Some things he needs to improve on is his handle. Kind of has a loose handle. I feel like if he gets that to the next level, he could be someone who can unlock his shot creation. I think that'll take him from a good starter to a potential superstar if he improves that handle, and which will help unlock his shot creation and his off the dribble ability, and it'll open up things in the paint for him. If he continues to improve his jumper too. Only 25% of his shots were off the dribble this season. He's a very shifty player though on the perimeter. He's adept at going downhill. He knows how to create separation. He's one of the most gifted athletes. I say best athletes in this class. He might be damn near the top. Honestly, I don't know if you guys saw. I forgot who he dunked on last year, or almost dunked on, but I was like, I forgot who it was. He was playing in Bahamas last year, and I was like, whoa, he almost dunked on someone from like damn near the free throw line. I was like, this guy is different athletically, and he plays hard too.
Yeah,
he has that motor. Yeah, he does. So, and he shot 53% at the rim overall. I think once he continues to get better at trying to get better with his touch at the rim, that will improve 45.5% on layups. I want that to be a little bit higher for someone who attacks the rim a lot and has great athleticism and like a chiseled frame. I want to see him improve that. But yeah, if he needs to tighten up his handle, continue to improve his shot. I feel like those are only real weaknesses in his game. if he shores those up, man, he could be, his ceiling to me is D Wade, but he also reminds me a little bit like Victor Oladipo. And also, I was going to say this other shooting guard. Who's the other person I'm talking about? But there was this other shooting, I think KCP, someone said. When I was watching the video, someone said KCP, a little bit of KCP in this game, but way more athletic than KCP, though. Like more athletic KCP. And then, like, his defense is like KCP. KCP defensively is really good, but he's like a more athletic KCP as well. So I would say
He's
those
really
three
good
comparisons. I would say the ceiling
really
team.
good defender.
Yeah. I got VJ, man.
Going
to Utah, man.
Salt
Lake.
I'm gonna go in another direction because I feel
Ace going
like
here for you?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, damn. Yeah, that's tough.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Damn.
I'm telling you, he dropped, bro. He dropped.
Man, that's crazy.
A team like Utah, nah, they've got a certain look in how they like their superstars. So, Con Canople, welcome to Salt Lake City.
You said Con Canople?
Get your bags packed, buddy. You're going to Utah.
You said Con Canople?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They will. Man, they look. Gordon Hayward.
You see, they got some
like,
brothers on there, man. They got Cody Williams, Colin Sexton.
They got a brother named Keontae George at point guard right now. That's a lot for them.
George.
That's a lot for them.
A light-skinned brother at that.
They gotta go another direction now. This is Utah we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is Utah. Like,
true. I didn't think about that.
The only city where there's not a liquid gas, but somehow they were able to take New Orleans' name and hold on to that. You know what I'm saying? So Con Canople, it's perfect, right? He's white. Let's get that out the way. He's white. They're going to eat that up. But, all right, as a player, I love Con Canople's game. He is a dog. He is a stronger player out there than people really kind of took into consideration. When Cooper went down those last two games, it was not Tyrese. It was not even Kaman. It was Con who stepped up, played big minutes, was on pace as a ball handler, was attacking the basket. I mean, I was seeing stuff that I hadn't seen all year from Con, but I'd seen when he had, watching his high school film, right?
Yeah.
He's a player that has a lot higher of a ceiling than people are taking the credit for. Is he the world's greatest athlete? No. But he is incredibly skilled, incredibly fundamentally sound. I mean, his shooting efficiency showed the level of polish he's got. Shot 48% from the field, 41% from three, and 91% from the free throw line. And he averaged 14, 4, and 3. That's all incredible efficiency. As Utah kind of figures out, okay, we've got Colin Sexton, we got Keontae George. We want to figure out what Cody Williams can do. We're debating on if Lauri Markkanen and John Collins, if they're gonna be here. We're debating on what Jordan Clarkson. Like they've got so much question and uncertainty. You get a player like Khan, you mentioned about plug and play. He is ultimate plug and play. And I think, does he have the highest ceiling in this draft? No, but I think it's higher. A player that he got compared to, that I really like this comparison, and this is an OG comparison, but Chris Mullin. And I was watching like those last two. I was watching those last two games, especially the UNC game, and I could see it. Just as a shot maker, as an aggressive player, and as like the white guy that the brothers respect on the court. We just got to call it what it is. He has that. He's from Milwaukee. Milwaukee ain't no walk in the park as far as towns go, especially sports wise. They take hoops up there very seriously, and you're not just gonna come out there. You're not gonna come out of there just regular, right? We see Tyrese, see Tyler Herro go years back, Caron Butler. It's not a city that people necessarily look at, but if you know, you know. And I feel like the fact that he came in with not much, he did have some hype, but it wasn't to the level of Cooper. it wasn't to the level of Kaman, just the intrigue about Kaman. But he produced and he showed that in a bigger role he could thrive even more. So I'm very curious, and I really feel like you put him in a system like Utah where they're like, okay, we need guys that one can contribute right now, but also someone that we can build toward the future with. And I think that's where Khan is going to shine. I think that's where, as a player, he's going to come in and be someone who is ready, unafraid of the moment. He's not ducking from anything. And I think Utah needs that kind of energy in their team. So you mentioned that they need excitement. I think what they need is they need someone who is a proven winner, right? They need someone who has won at every level, has pedigree, and it just makes sense. I mean, a couple other guys that I saw him get compared to, Wally Zerbiak, who funny with the Tyrese Halliburton, but Wally was a good player with the Timberwolves and with the Cavs and with the Celtics.
Yeah,
Gordon
Zerbiak
Hayward
was a good player. He was a good player.
Gordon Hayward was another one. Luke Kennard. Nothing of this screams superstar. Evan Fournier, Bojan Bogdanovic, Cam Johnson, Jared Dudley. Outside of Chris Mullin, no one's a superstar, but you're getting a very good player. You're getting a player who's very well rounded. I finally got the numbers in front of me.
Desmond
Bain,
Desmond
17. That's actually
Austin
not a bad
Reeves.
comparison.
That's a good
I like
comp.
that one.
That's a good comp.
Yeah,
Austin Reeves.
Desmond
right.
Bain's not even bad at the two guard
Don't
position.
forget AR-15. AR-15. Austin Reeves.
That's another one too. Yes. Austin Reeves was another one. But he put up 17, 4, 3, and a steal. And he made 3 threes versus UNC. This was without flag. And then in the semifinal versus Louisville, he put up 18, 8 boards, 3 assists, and 2 steals. So to me, he's a player that's just going to get better. He's a player that is going to rise to the occasion, and he's a player that's unafraid of the moment. And you kind of can't put a price on that. So if I'm Utah and I'm also thinking about my fan base, I'm thinking about my customer demographic, it doesn't get better than picking Constantinople at pick 5, personally. I think this is the most Utah Jazz pick that they could have. So that's my pick. But we'll see. Maybe they bring VJ in, but I think they're like, all right, it's a little too many, y'all. We need one of ours. This is Stockton country, So that's my God. This is the house that Jimmer built. No, but
I'm dead. Yeah, BYU time.
Jimmer even played Utah, bro. He didn't play.
No, but he should have.
He played in Provo. He played in Provo at BYU.
Yeah.
He played in Provo.
Yeah, that's true.
Mormons,
that's true.
Man, the Mormons when Jimmer was popping, they was acting like they had like the Mormon D Rose or the Mormon Steph Curry. Man, they was hyped out their mind.
Yeah, no, for real.
Right.
I think Tom brings the right.
You got a 5, Armani. I want to try it. My battery almost dying. Oh shoot, no, 50%. All right.
Plug in.
You got 5, Armani.
I would say, I'm putting on like a GM hat real quick because I feel like there's a lot of prospects and talent on that Jazz team that are going to potentially be moved or traded or even in mumblings to get shifted. You look at Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler; they're very big prevalent names. John Collins, JC, Jordan Clarkson. Those are pieces that will probably get moved if they go the route that they do in order to get more assets and more pieces to help in a rebuild future for the talent that they want. So I think at 5, I would take Trey Johnson if he's available. Obviously, we kind of talked about what that after 3 range, like where we're at, but I think Trey Johnson will be the best bet. Obviously, I like both your guys' picks and analysis on the simple fact that it provides a lot of need that the team would need. But I'm coming from a perspective if Lauri's gone. I'm coming from a perspective if Walker Kessler's not anchoring the paint. I'm coming from a perspective if John Collins isn't providing energy off of the bench or even if he's on the court, period. So I think you got to get upside. Get a guy like Trey Johnson if he's available. We know his scoring ability when he was in the SEC, led SEC in scoring as a freshman. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty tough to do, especially in a very physical, daunting conference like that, especially at like a program like that. So I think that's good that they get a player like that. You got Keontae George to build with. You got Isaiah Collier. I know he's still developing first. Isaiah Collier had a lot of time playing point.
They got a lot of brothers up there.
Pretty intriguing to see. Pretty intrigued to see what they do with Cody Williams, to see how he continues to develop his game going into a second year. Obviously, he'll probably be playing summer league, just to see his development, his improvement. But I think you got to get a guy like Trey Johnson just for upside, just to be able to provide that scoring boost that you would need. I'm not trying to say he'll be Donovan Mitchell and go crazy like I did, but if he could just go in there and provide solid value and contribute to points, because that's what that team will need for the future. If they do for sure lose Laurie, if they do lose Walker Kessler in the paint, and obviously we know Walker to be a very, he's tall and he provides a lot of rim protection and rebounding, but they got to look for the future and secure that talent. This draft, and we keep talking about this draft, is one of those drafts like you have to lock in and get the player that will benefit your team. Because if you don't, we don't know. Obviously, we got Debanza next year, and I know DJ's been on Debanza for a while now. Dylan talked about Debanza as well, but we don't know how the talent's going to be next year.
So Peterson next year's draft is great.
Yeah,
exactly. So you got to be able to lock in a player that will lead your franchise to a good future. I think Trey Johnson's a safe pick at 5, if he's available. Obviously, for the simple fact, like I said, those players that are on that team right now, like JC can go contribute on another team. Collins could go contribute on another team. Laurie for sure can go compete on a championship team, and for sure Walker Kessler would be a valued center on any team that has to look at the compete and contend. So with the rate at which Utah's at, I think Trey Johnson's a safe pick at number 5.
Like that.
Yeah.
So at number 6 now, Washington Wizards. Who did I put at number 6? Let me see. All right, so I had them going with Duke center Kaman Maluach, 7'2", 253, 7'6" wingspan, 19 years old. I mean, yes, they have Alex Sarr, who they drafted last year, who's second overall, but Alex Sarr is more of I feel like he's a skinny, slender type of big man. He's someone who I think right now you don't want him playing the 5 in the NBA, especially against burlier type of bigs. And I feel like Maluach with his NBA ready frame already, and he's a rim running threat. He can catch lobs. He can defend the rim, and he goes rebound. I feel like they haven't unlocked his shooting, but they didn't really unlock his shooting potential at Duke, because when he was playing the BAL a little bit, I saw him shooting the ball a little bit. I feel like he'll expand upon that more, coming into the NBA level. I know it will take time, but I feel like if he goes to Washington Wizards, I feel like they'll expand that a little more. They don't really have a lot of true big men over there, except for Sarr and then Tristan Vucevic. They could use upgrade another big man who has high upside, who they potentially mold into a really good player down the road. And I feel like his body already could handle the rigors of the NBA. He was playing in the Olympics last year against Team USA, so he has some high level experience in big games, playing in the Olympics, and then last year playing for Duke. So pressure should be nothing for him. He has solid footwork in traffic. He has a great catch radius. He has a 9-foot standing reach. So he's going to be someone who I think, if he has a good point guard with playing with Jordan Poole, who I know is probably throw some lobs to him and stuff like that, who create plays off the dribble. He has great hands. He's an efficient finisher at the rim. He shot 77% at the rim. He's a significant pick and roll threat at the next level. He had 1.76 points per possession as a roller in pick and rolls. He does generate a lot of extra possessions for his team. He's a really good rebounder. He defends the rim well. Opponents shot 53% at the rim when he was at the rim last year for Duke, and they were 32.7% on paint twos with him in the interior. So he's not just someone who's just big standing there. He's making an impact and affecting shots and swatting shots to the stand sometimes when he's in the interior and imposing his will. He does need to improve his positioning and technique sometimes when he's trying to post up, things of that nature. He does a good job, capable of guarding out the perimeter and switches, hard hedging, stuff like that. One thing he needs to improve on, I want to see him become a better shot creator, creating shots for himself. A lot of his shots were kind of assisted for him off by Cooper Flag or Colin Knipple, off lobs and stuff of that nature, or pick and rolls. He's kind of limited as a playmaker. I want to see him kind of utilize his face-up game a little more and and also when he's has a double come over, like find an open teammate for a three or something that if you see a three shooter across the court and just making things harder against the defense. But he's young. He's like 18, 19 years old. He's a young kid. He only been playing basketball for 5 years, so he still has a lot of developing to do. He's someone who does have a solid post game, post hooks. He utilizes some turnaround post fades. That gives me hope that he could be a potential go-to scorer in the post one day as a potential shot creator. He shot 76% from the foul line, which is a good indicator that he has solid shooting mechanics and room for growth. And I want to see him kind of get in better shape because he only played like 20-something minutes per game last year for Duke. He wasn't playing like high volume minutes for them. I want to see what he does with increased minutes, how he looks, his body language, especially at the faster level of the NBA. But I think he is a guy who has a great work ethic because he said, I read articles. I've done an article on him as well. Kaman Maluak, he wants to be great. He has that hunger. He wants to be one of the best. And some of my comparisons for him to me are like Mark Williams and Brook Lopez. I feel like he reminds me a little bit of those guys. He has like the stretch shooting potential of like a Brook Lopez, especially later on in his career. But he has like the shot blocking ability of like a Mark Williams, the lob threat of Mark Williams, and things of that nature. But yeah, he has like the potential face up to be like a Brook Lopez, and then like defensively like Mark Williams. So yeah, I think Kaman Maluak. I think he's gonna go to the 6 to 8 range, but I have him going number 6 to the Wizards. Dylan smiling. He's like, damn. He's like, that's great analysis.
I guess you gotta say I'm repeating after you, but I also have Kaman going pick 6.
Yeah, you don't have to go too deep, it's the same.
No. But I will want to say that, with the Wizards, they struggled defensively last year. And but they had a good draft. I like the fact that Troy Weaver, who's now part of the front office for the Pelicans, I like that he was able to navigate a draft trade that was able to get them both Bud Carrington and Keyshawn George in addition to Alex Sarr. So I think at the small forward position with George, I think they're covered, and at point guard, they've got Carrington, and they're figuring out if Poole is going to be there, and they move one of them to the 2, or if he gets traded. And then Alex Sarr, he had a slow start, but as the season progressed, he did really well. Eventually made an all-rookie first team. But he's more of a power forward than a center. So I think it just makes the most logical sense. I think this is where best talent and team fit makes the most sense. I mean, I know there's a lot of fans in the region who want Derek Queen. I'm very high on Derek Queen, but I think that with Kaman's skill set as a shot blocker, as a paint defender, and as a rim runner, I think it fits better with Alex Sarr, being a floor spacer. And not saying that it couldn't work with Derek Queen, but neither Derek Queen or Sarr are like defensive aces. I mean, Sarr I think actually has a lot of potential. Some people feel like Sarr is a better defender right now than an offensive player, but just
his skills can grow.
Yeah, skills can grow, but just going off of like their personnel, it would make more sense for them to get an athletic big that can play at the basket, can defend the paint, versus a big that is kind of like, a jumbo point guard that can handle the ball, post up, but is gonna need other defenders around him to make sure that he's not a traffic cone. So I think it just makes the most sense with Kaman. I think that his potential is I think his ceiling is incredibly high. A name that I really like that he got compared to was Ivica Zubac, and I feel like if he can get to that level with his post game, because Zubac
definitely more athletic than him, though. Definitely more athletic.
Oh yeah, and Derek Lively was another comparison of his that I like. Mitchell Robinson, Rudy Gobert. I don't know if you said that one. If he
has more offensive potential than Rudy.
If he gets his offense to the level of Zubac on the post-up side, but then defensively is on the level of, Robinson or Gobert with the athleticism of Lively, I think you've got a damn good center right there. I think you have an all-star center. You might
Yeah, I
not.
think he'd be an all-star like by year 4, year 5, man. If he really develops properly, like by his
Yeah,
5 years in.
because I mean, there's not a lot of bigs who have that skill, but I
True.
don't care what anyone says. You have a center with skill set to play defense at the paint, be the tallest guy, and keep you honest on the offensive end, whether it's posting up or spacing the floor with today's league. You can't ask for too much more.
And
So
he's
I think
athletic, and has great hands. He could catch lobs, all that. Yeah.
now what he's got to work on is he can't have those games where he's putting up
0 rebounds, like in that game against, I forgot who they played, but
It's Houston.
I was like,
Houston,
yo,
it was a
I was
Final Four,
7-2 and
bro.
no rebounds. Like, this is unacceptable.
Yeah, in the
Unacceptable.
Final
Not going to
Four.
cut it. So he's got to work. He's got to work on his conditioning. But I think he's got every other intangible. So yeah. I got Kaman going pick 6.
And me and Dylan, come on, my little watch.
That's good. And that's a good pickup for sure for them. For the Wizards, looking at their team and what they've lost, and just currently where they're at, I wouldn't want to add another center in that situation. I just feel like it would mix things up a little bit. I don't know, but I think if he's available, you take Ace Bailey, and snag him.
If he drops,
Keyshawn George is good. Keyshawn George is good, and a lot of these players on this team, like, they have good talent. Like, I like Bub Carrington. I like AJ Johnson. Jordan Poole, obviously, if he's still there, he'll be there. Corey Kispert's a good shooter. Kalala Bali, he's good.
Yeah. Yes. And Bilal, yes.
Chris Middleton's there, and then Keyshawn George. But Rashawn Holmes is on that team, JC Thor. But, like, they have a good team, but it's just they're developing, and they're going to take some time to develop. So I think in this situation, you get Ace Bailey, you can get a perennial scorer from this draft that can bolster up support for Jordan Poole, at least if he's still there. Because this team, like, they have the pieces to compete. They have the pieces that can win games. Like, they have a team that can complement each other really well. But I don't know. Like, you add Kaman. Like, Kaman's good, and I'm not discrediting the pick, because I think that would be a great pickup. But I just, you get more upside in scoring if you get a guy like Ace, if he's available at that pick. That's who I would pick based upon the mock that I've done so far. I feel like if he's available and he does drop from that top 3 range, then you have to take him at 6, and you kind of bolster up scoring a little bit right then and there. Keyshawn can come off the bench and provide great energy and great value. They have a lot of upside in those players and those guys on that program, or on the team, period. So I really do like Washington at 6. But at the end of the day, I feel like you have to be sure to get a guy that has good upside at scoring that could help bolster, like, the roster overall. So I have Ace at that pick.
Like that.
Yeah.
So at number 7, we have the Pelicans now. This is where I had Conca Nipple. Guard, 6'6", 20, 19, elite shooter. One of the strengths I had, elite shooter, off-ball movement, solid finisher, and he is a hustle player. So y'all didn't know. Yeah. So he's the only freshman this season and one of 2 Duke freshmen. Kyrie Irving was the other. Since 1980-81, averaged 14 plus points on 45% from the field and 40% from 3, and shoot 90% from the foul line. He's the only freshman to post those numbers and play at least 25 plus games ever. I'm like, when I saw that, I was like, wow. I was like, this guy might be more impressive than I even thought. I was like, this guy's shooting ability and marksmanship from all over the floor is impressive. He's someone who I think could be a secondary or tertiary playmaker for offense on a winning team. He can create his own shot off the dribble or a good shot for a teammate. He had a 15.7 assist percentage this past season. He had 107 assists, 53 turnovers. He has beautiful mechanics on his shot. He's 43% unguarded threes. He knows how to utilize his body to finish well at the rim. He's not a shifty guy who's going to wow you with his handles or anything like that, but he knows how to embrace contact, finish strong at the rim. He always makes the hustle play. Whenever you see the ball on the ground, he's always one of the first guys to the floor, trying to get to it, secure for his teammate, get extra additional possessions. And that's a guy I love on my team. Those are guys who want to help you win championships. And you add on that with his shooting ability and secondary, tertiary type of playmaking, you have a guy who's going to help you win at a very high level for the next 10, 15 years. Some of his weaknesses, he's kind of limited athletically. His volume of creation, he's not the greatest. He has basic moves, doesn't have a lot of counters to his game. If he could diversify his portfolio of moves and become more of a diversified, effective offensive player, that'll take him to the next level. Then I kind of have some defensive worries. He doesn't have the long arms. He's not really quick laterally. I think he's going to struggle against like elite shifty guards in the league, like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and stuff like that. He kind of can be prone to blow-bys and things of that nature. He'll need to refine his positioning technique since he's not the most quickest laterally guard. But if he could kind of refine his technique and how he's going to position himself in guarding guys, I think that will help him a lot and kind of utilize his strength a little bit better, compensate for that. But like I said earlier, comparisons for me, Bogdan Bogdanovic, kind of hard to say that name sometimes. Austin Reeves, Desmond Bain, those are some guys he kind of reminds me of a little bit. And then I was gonna throw in a former Dookie, but a little bit of JJ Redick too. A little bit some JJ Redick. Gotta show JJ Redick some love, man. Yeah, so I got Colin Knippel going on New Orleans Hornets, and he fits great with them because they kind of need some shooting. This is a team last year, 3-point percentage. They were 24th in the league, only 34% from three. So you coming in as a marksman, that's your A+ skill coming in right away to the league where you can make an immediate impact. He fits perfectly, especially when you have your guy Zion who plays mostly in the paint. You need guys who can spread the floor, and he's one of the best in the draft for that. So he makes perfect sense for New Orleans at 7.
Not mad at that pick, and
if Trey Johnson drops, you can pick him. So
yeah. I mean, this is a draft that you're gonna get a lot of bang for your buck. So not mad at that. But I think for me, on my end, I think pick 7. I think that's where Ace Bailey finally gets selected. New Orleans, bring him to the Bayou. Now,
they're gonna ruin him like they did Zion. Oh man, and beignets. Oh man.
I think the reason why they make this pick, is there is a possibility that they might lose either Trey Murphy or Herb Jones. And either way, you're going to need another forward to put next to one of them. If you lose Trey Murphy, you lose a two-way player that has been breaking out, has turned into a borderline all-star level player, and it seems his ceiling is just growing and increasing. Every team right now wants him, and why not get a player with a similar skill set but even more offensive shot creation? But then, if you lose, because you put him next to Herb, that's a really good duo. Herb brings the defense and the versatility, Swiss Army knife type of game, and Ace is the scorer, the star. But then if you lose Herb, well, sad as that would be, you can alternate out of them at the 2 or 3 interchangeably. There's a lot of similarity into their game, except that I would say Ace Bailey has a bit more to his bag, has a bit more handles to his game. I think the thing with Ace Bailey, I was watching Gil's Arena yesterday, and Nick and Rashad, they were very much in support of him not taking the workouts and not going to the dinners and being very much like, nope, I'm putting this out here for what it is. While Kenyon and Brandon were not feeling it. I don't know how to feel personally, but I think that the NBA is petty enough that they will do stuff like make an example of you in a moment like that. So I could very well see that happening, 1. And then 2, infrastructure wise, I think someone like having President Dumars as the team's president, as their GM, I think for a player like Ace Bailey, he's exactly the type of person that he needs. Not going to sugarcoat things. He's not going to, but he's also not going to overly berate him. You know what I'm saying? I think that's probably one concern is that they're having is like, what kind of environment are you going to be walking into? Are you going to be walking into an environment where they truly invest in you and believe in you? And with the Pelicans, I've been blessed that I've been able to cover them as of recent. They're a team that they can use all the talent possible, but they're trying to build a culture from the ground up. And that's going to require both players who are talented and players who have bought into the mission. Now, whether Willie Green is the coach, that remains up to be seen. I hope it works out for him because I do like him, but we'll see. But they know at the very least that, okay, we know Zion is the face of our team. But we wanted to make the Zion and Brandon Ingram pairing work so damn bad. Well, Ace Bailey as a player has a lot of Brandon Ingram to his game. He's been compared to KD. He's been compared to Brandon Miller. You mentioned Rashard Lewis.
Yeah, plays like that too.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that I took in with Ace Bailey especially, and this was also what compounded into some of his stock falling, is that he's 6'8". The 6'10" listing is a very generous one with shoes.
6'8" without shoes on.
Yeah. But look,
we're playing with shoes or without shoes. That's why I don't really.
Right, but unfortunately, teams look at stuff like that because it makes them say, okay, like we might have thought of you as potentially being like a small ball 4, but instead of having him be a small ball 4, why not have him being an oversized 2 guard, right? Because he's got the defense.
T-Mac. He's the closest thing I've ever seen to T-Mac.
He's got the defensive instincts to be a really good like weak side and recovery defender. He's got to lean into that more, but I feel like that where he's at right now as a player, he's got enough athleticism and speed and quickness to be able to be able to kind of like cover his own backside in that way. So for a team like the Pelicans who struggled defensively, struggled from 3, and they're trying to figure out moving forward, like who's going to be on this team and who isn't, because then they also have to contend with what happens with CJ and what happens with DeJounte Murray when he comes back from his Achilles injury. So with all this at stake and all this is the time to go for a star if the opportunity presents itself. Yeah. And he's got the name, he's got the swagger, he's got everything you need to be a star. And I think that New Orleans, this was a team that used to be called the Jazz. So why not bring someone who can excite fans, who can put butts into a seat, but also who on the court, brings that type of polarizing excitement. Add some personality, some flair. And I think that him and Zion, their play styles would mesh very well together. So Ace is my pick. Now, this is also like, I would like to see it happen. But I think realistically, I don't think Ace is going to – I think he's going to slide, but I don't think he's going to slide to the double digits. I think somewhere –
hopefully not.
There's no way he's sliding to 10. Hell no. There's no way.
Somewhere 7
I hope not.
He's too talented to slide all the way that.
He shouldn't.
Unless it's the 96 draft and there's like 13 superstars, hell no. 11 all-stars.
Hey, but that 96 class had a lot of all-stars, so it was a lot of talent.
Tough. Yeah, that was pure
hindsight
talent.
was 2020 in that case. So I think with Ace Bailey, teams are going to examine. Yeah, you scored, like Armani said, you scored a lot, but y'all didn't win. And
exactly, empty stats, empty calories.
Now this with his team, and apparently I just found this out too. Sharif Cooper's dad is his agent, which Sharif Cooper's dad. Some have argued.
You the Pelicans insight, dude. I forgot. It's like you are deep in your bag right now, my brother.
Some people.
He's been studying. He knows. That's good.
Yeah. Some people argue.
Man. That's good. Man. Give me flowers on the show, man. Yes, sir. Make sure y'all check my guy out, man. Pelicans information.
Hey, shout out Pelicans Daily. I'm gonna shout it out at the end of the episode. But some people said that Sharif Cooper is why. Sharif Cooper's dad is why Sharif Cooper didn't get drafted into the league. And it's definitely willing to be questioned and considered because, Sharif had everything you need outside of like crazy standout size, but as just a pure point guard who also could create for himself. And then, sister in the WNBA, like it just seemed like everything was set up for him to be Did he go undrafted? He either went undrafted or second round.
I think he went
second
round.
If I'm not second round. Okay, so yeah, but he's not on a team right now, and I think he's got more than enough talent. But it's political. Make no mistake, this is a business, and it is political. And if you burn certain bridges, then the tracks for you to get back is not going to be laid. So I think that New Orleans, as a team, they've also been very bold about, hey, we don't have any untouchables, but we're not moving certain players. And if you want to get certain guys, you got to come correct with the offer. And I think that given that there is a little bit of controversy, why not? I feel like President Dumars is like, hey, that's nothing to me. Can you play? Can you hoop? Are you ready to buy into this new culture that we're building into? And if I'm Ace Bailey, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at, where am I going to be able to carve a path for myself? Where am I going to be able to really, really become and add to the lore of my game and my name? And I feel like New Orleans would be a very unique opportunity for him, but I think he would flourish very well. And I think that, for a team that's starving for some like crazy success, I think he would be a valuable asset to that. So my pick is Ace Bailey.
Okay. I picked for Pelicans. I have Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma.
I like Jeremiah a lot too.
Jeremiah Fears, I like him at this pick primarily to complement the backside. You already got DeJounte Murray there. If he continues to be on that team, I'm sure he'll be there. That if they want to continue to progress with him, CJ McCollum's on that team. I think him off the bench can provide a lot of tremendous value for this team. I think that Jeremiah Fears throughout this season has shown up in ways that I wasn't expecting. Not a big Oklahoma follower when it comes to Oklahoma, besides the Thunder, obviously. But I watched a couple of their games, and I was like, oh, wow, like this dude can compete. And he has brought his team back from like ground bearings where they were out of the game. He makes some wild shots. This is the SEC tournament because I was able to watch the SEC tournament this year on TV and stuff, and I was able to say, well, okay, like this dude's upside is pretty good. He's 6'4". He's pretty fast. He's athletic. He can move. Kind of gives me a little bit more of like a comparison to like a John Wall a little bit. I feel like he could shoot a little bit better than John Wall, but his upside's pretty high at the John Wall range, I would say. And I think that would be a good piece. I think if Ace is available, you take Ace. I also feel like with Dylan and DJ, both of your guys' picks are very solid when it comes to that option at the 7th pick because he's still, like I said, there's a lot of talent. But I picked Jeremiah Fears just for the simple fact I think his upside from the guard level, they're going to lose potentially a wing player, and Trey Murphy potentially may move around some other pieces. You never know, just for the simple fact that they have assets that can provide a lot of value to other teams, and they could get a good send-off and receive a lot back too as well. So you don't know how it'll shake up or how it will look, but I think you can get a prime guard like Jeremiah Fears at a young age like that, being a freshman, like leading your team into the future, no matter what happens with DeJounte or no matter what happens with CJ, because either or they can leave on a trade or, they can opt out to like, well, I'm not really like the situation I'm in. Like, it's good, but I want better. So you kind of secure a future with Jeremiah Fears at that point guard position, and you got a good situation moving forward. So that's my pick.
Nice.
Y'all got number 8, Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I had the same guy. I had Jeremiah Fears right after that.
Too.
Number 8, Brooklyn Nets. Yes.
DJ matching again.
What do you say?
I said we matching.
Y'all matching. Y'all got same picks. That's funny.
Yeah. Brooklyn is go hard. He go hard. Man, Jeremiah Fears. I didn't get to watch him much, but when I watched him in the film, I'm watching this guy, man. Craftiness, explosiveness, and he's really young. He's one of the youngest players in the class. I think him and Cooper are the 2 youngest guys in the class this year.
They are.
This guy was supposed to be an incoming freshman coming in this year, and then he had a really good year. He puts a lot of pressure on defenses. He has maybe the best handle in the class. Like, he has a craft through traffic. Like, getting through screens.
He can get through.
It's really
for sure.
Maybe a little. I don't want to say it, but a little bit Kyrie Irving-esque. Like a little bit. I'm just like, this guy has a nice. Not saying it's Kyrie Irving, but he has a nifty handle, man. And he knows how to finish at the rim with his left or right. He was one of 2 Oklahoma freshmen, other than Trae Young, ever to average 17 plus points, 4 more assists, and over 1.5 steals per game for a season. He excels at utilizing various angles to attack the basket and initiating contact. He finished 58% on transition drives. I think he has really high potential as not just as a playmaker, but as a downhill scorer. He needs to improve his jumper. I think that will be what ultimately unlocks his ceiling and where he's going to actually become an NBA. If he unlocks his jumper and becomes consistent so teams don't go under the screen, it's going to take him to a whole nother level. He has great separation on off the bounce. He knows how to use misdirection in his dribbles. He's not just wasting dribbles. He knows how to use them effectively. And he makes active reads as a playmaker. 28.9 assist percentage, average 4.1 assists per game on 31.9 use percentage. He knows how to hit the roller for basic reads and people in transition. He'll need to improve his decision making, and kind of had a lot of turnovers last season. He had 3.5 turnovers per game, 18.3 turnover percentage. Shooting, like I mentioned, needs to get better. 20% from 3. That will need to get better at the next level. But he does have solid mechanics on his shot, 85% from the charity stripe. And majority of his turnovers, I think, come from him kind of not taking his time or forcing the issue and trying to force the situation. Instead of making the simple read and the easy play, instead of trying to make the home run play. I think that's something he'll need to improve on. But yeah, he's someone, to me, he's kind of an undersized guard too. I think someone defensively, he might get kind of targeted on the defensive end, and he kind of have some inconsistent effort and engagement on the defensive end as well. But I think with his athleticism and stuff like that, I want to see him be more impactful and try to make more of a conscious effort to be more of an impactful defender. But I think he's someone who has a lot of talent, especially offensively, creating his own shot with his ball handling ability, finishing at the rim. And I think when he develops that jumper, he could be a really good starting point guard at the NBA level, maybe a fringe all-star, but I think a really solid starter. He kind of reminds me a little bit like Reggie Jackson and like Jeff Teague. I think Jeff Teague, like during his all-star years with the Hawks, I think that could be like his ceiling. I think, Fears reminds me a little bit of Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague during his prime.
Okay.
Undersized guard, 6'2".
I'm gonna say this:
pass, quick finish, nifty handle.
Oh, he's 6'2"?
Yeah, he's like 6'2", 6'3", 6'2". Yeah, he's not like a jumbo-sized guard. Yeah.
He's like 6'2", 6'4". I think he's like 6'2", 6'4" range.
Yeah, around there.
Okay.
He's
so
like
they're going
6'4".
shoeless to shoe. Got you. Well, I got Brooklyn taking Jeremiah Fears as well. I think the same kind of thing that you said about the Jazz and the Hornets. I feel like the Nets, more than any team, need an exciting player. I mean, this is New York City we're talking about. Yes, Brooklyn, but you're in New York City. You're in Brooklyn. You're in a basketball mecca. You're somewhere where there is historic and rich history. And with Jeremiah Fears, I was very impressed with what I saw his freshman year. I did catch the UConn game. That was when I really got to just watch him up close. Yeah. I mean, up close to my TV. But he put up 25 and 4, and he had them in the game the entire time. And UConn had a way deeper team. It was just him and Jalen Moore out there. They didn't really have a lot. They didn't really have much out there. But he played really well. They lost 67-59. It was a winnable game. What I really loved with the game that I saw was that there was no fear. You know what I'm saying? And it's ironic with his name. But there was no fear in him at all. He's like, it's cliche, but he does have that dog mentality for real. And Armani mentioned John Wall. And I see like a fusion of like John Wall and Jamal Murray in his game, in the sense of being able to pick his spots really
Jamal
well.
Murray, I see that.
He's able to. He's got a beautiful jump shot for him, and he's able to. He's unafraid of the moment. You know what I'm saying? And if you get a player who's got John Wall's combo of size, speed, and handles, with Jamal Murray's jumper. I mean, that's one of the best guards in the league. That's one of the best players in the league. You know what I'm saying? So I think that his upside is incredibly high. I saw on the lower end as like a ceiling somewhere between a Jordan Poole and a Doc Rivers, which, again, that's still a player who's able to create off the dribble, still a player who can be your primary ball handler, and also be one of your best defenders. Because I think that's the thing that is going very underregarded. He averaged nearly 2 steals a game, and he's not just a one-way player. He can play both ends, and given that with Brooklyn, they really have no idea what they're doing because they're likely gonna trade Cam Johnson. They already traded Mikal Bridges last offseason, which is what has netted them, pun intended, but has netted them extra picks this year. They have to really build their roster for the future because outside of Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, who else do you really see being on that roster moving forward? You know?
Claxton's going to be gone probably too. That's another
right.
thing.
So Claxton might be gone. Yeah, that's just a roster that right now. I mean, they might have D'Lo as their vet, and I feel like D'Lo would be a really good mentor for Jeremiah, in terms of like just learning from him as far as like how to similar. There is some similarities in their play style in terms of being like not the biggest, but they can play both at the point and the two, and being able to utilize all 3 levels of scoring. I feel like that Brooklyn, they need someone who's excited. They need someone with a name. They need someone who's got the name in the game and someone who's ready to produce. And I saw that with Jeremiah Fears and watching his film, and I especially saw that in the tournament. So I think they're gonna utilize that, and I think that they're gonna make that pick because even if you still have Cam Thomas there, why not have another guard out there who can create his own shot and is a better defender and is athletic? You know what I'm saying? Like he checks off a lot of boxes. I honestly feel like if this draft class was like weaker at the top, he would go higher. But because it's a super strong draft class, he's only sliding just because of teams necessity and who they want versus who they might be able to get. So yeah, my pick for pick 8 is Jeremiah Fears. Me and DJ are in agreement.
Mm-hmm. Did Armani win already, or I think he won already?
No, I haven't won yet. I'm looking. I think they go with a guard. I don't know if you guys really heard of him like that, but Igor Demon. He's out of BYU.
BYU.
I have a little later.
Yeah. He can either go at that spot or he can drop down a bit, just depending on the situation of how the draft plays out. But from watching his clips, because I didn't really watch a lot of BYU. I know I will this year for sure with Devonta, but he has overall playmaking abilities at his height at 6'9". They have him listed at 6'9". He gives like a lot of like Giddey vibes, and it complemented well that Josh Giddey was able to go to a situation like he did in Chicago, and he was able to kind of be the guy that dishes, facilitates, leads his team. Because I don't know if you guys really know, or I'm sure you guys do. D'Lo's just played his final contract year because when he was with the Lakers last season, he opted into staying with the team, and this was his final season on the team, supposedly for the contract. So there's a chance that D'Lo walks and goes somewhere else. Maybe it's not a great contender, but he might go somewhere to where he can provide value for another team. I don't know if he wants to be in a situation like Brooklyn again and rebuild. Obviously, he'll be able to have full keys and reign with Cam Thomas. But like you guys said, it's a tough situation in Brooklyn because I think their hope was obviously top maybe 5. Get Cooper Flagg, get Ace Bailey, get a Dylan Harper if you can. And be content with building the future. But, they don't really land in that range in this draft because they're listed at number 8, which is tough. But The thing about it is you can always build for the future in this draft. The prospects, like I said, down the line, you don't really miss out on a lot. The thing with Igor, I would say if they do pick him, they don't have a lot of offensive firepower from him, but you do get the facilitating and you get opportunity for things to be created at his height. The thing that they'll have to do, and this is just beyond the draft, you're going to have to move players to get back something. Claxton, for sure, I think will be traded. I know my team, the Lakers, are looking at trying to get him. Obviously, that's to be seen, but they'll get something back to where they can build off of that and chip away. Cam Johnson, he's on that team still. I think he'll be gone, and they'll get something back for him. Maybe, you never know. I just don't see him staying in a situation. I just don't see the Nets and where they're at right now continuing to build with him on that team when they can build a team from the ground up and rebuild. It's going to be a lot slower and more paced, but it's going to be one of those things where you have to benefit off of what's available and what's present. If they can get Jeremiah Fears at number 8, you put yourself in a good position to have a strong player that can, bring some excitement to New York and Brooklyn. Obviously, we know how the Knicks are and how reputable they are. Obviously, the situation they're dealing with trying to find a head coach, obviously, is tough. But Brooklyn, on the other hand, it's not a bad franchise, I would say. They just have had bad hands dealt to them. The situation with Kevin Durant, how it fell apart with Harden and Kyrie, and when Kevin Durant leaves eventually, it's just bad hands that have been dealt for sure. And so you're in a situation now, it's okay, we have Cam Thomas, but we're still losing. You know what I mean? We have Nick Claxton, who's a young, promising center, but he doesn't have all the upside that he may need to be on this roster constructed team right now. So they just have to try to find core pieces that can help benefit them. So I just think best availability wise at that spot, you take a 2-guard wingish player that can play, make, and create for you. So I have Igor from BYU.
I agree.
Yeah, he was top 5 at one point. Early in the season, he had a hot start,
he was.
But then and then he kind of fell off, so his stock kind of dropped a little bit to the late lottery, mid-first round. But
yeah,
he's a 6'9" Russian point guard, man. He has a lot of upside. I have him later. We'll get into that a little later. I still have him in the lottery, but yeah, I think man, he could be a steal. But I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. Number 9, we have the Toronto Raptors. I have what's his name from Illinois, Kasparas Jakasionis, a guard, 6'6", 205. Man, from Lithuania. Yeah, he has great shot creation. I think he fits. He can play the point or the 2. I think he fits perfectly with the Raptors, who are kind of short on point guards. Outside of Mayo Quickly, they don't really have a reliable point guard. And Mayo Quickly's been talked about in trade rumors for Kevin Durant or Giannis. So they could use a point guard here. And Kasparas, Jakasionis, and Nate, self-creator offensively. He knows how to create separation on his shot and connects on high difficulty shots. He might be one of the best tough shot makers in this class. Yes, he can still get more efficient, but some of the shots I saw him make when I was watching some of the tape, I'm like, whoa, this guy is ultra talented. 44% from the field, 31% from 3. That will need to improve. 70% of his shots were off the dribble. So this is a guy who relies heavily usage rate on creating his own shot. He doesn't really need someone who has to set up things for him, which is something you kind of like, especially in a young player coming in right away, that you don't have to develop his hand or his confidence. He knows he can get his own shot anywhere on the floor. He has innate confidence. He played against high-level people in Lithuania before he even came to Illinois. So he has that confidence in his game. He can get to the rim, finish with both hands, and do it off balance while on opposite foot, which is very unique. He played a lot of pick and roll. 42% of those were pick and roll on those possessions. While with Illinois, when he goes to the rim, he goes strong. He's not going in timid, which I like, and he goes with a purpose. He had 5 free throw attempts per game. He's like a foul drawing magnet. I don't want people want to say what Shea. So I feel like Jakasionis. I feel like he's someone who is he's a jumper, a more efficient jumper away from being I think a steal in this class. I think he might be someone teams are going to regret not taking top 7, top 5 if he really develops that jumper more consistently. Because I think he has all the tools to be a high-level shot creator as a playmaker and for his own offense. He is a good positional defender, 6'6". I think that's going to help him, especially since he's not the most quick laterally, which makes up for his lack of elite athleticism and quickness. Capable playmaker, 1.2 to 1 assist turnover ratio. He had 156 total assists this season, 4.7 assists per game. He kind of has great processing of reads. Knows how to make a simple play, and he's not always forcing things. I think as a jumbo size initiator in NBA, he's going to be playing with better talent, and I think that's going to make his talent look even better on a wider scope, playing with more talented, better guys in the NBA that can finish his passes and stuff like that than at the collegiate level. Some of his weaknesses, not the most athletic guy. He's not consistent from three, 31% from three, 9 of 28 on catch and shoot threes. And his turnovers, he kind of turns the ball over a lot, 3.7 turnovers per game, kind of forced issues sometimes, be overzealous on some of his passes and shots he's trying to take. And he finished with 6 turnovers in each of his final 4 games, which is crazy. So I think he needs to get better decision making, just slowing down, let the game come to him naturally. And I think going to Toronto, playing alongside Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, if they don't trade any of those guys. Scotty Barnes I know is safe, but RJ Barrett's been on the trade block rumors, Manuel quickly. But I think if you play with Scotty Barnes, that'll be a great 1-2 punch and a great building foundation for Toronto that can kind of use it, because they need something outside of Scotty Barnes to uplift him, take him to the next level. I think having a playmaker like and Jaco Siones can make things easier for him. So I have him going number 9 to Canada, to the 6.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land. Armani, who you got at pick 9?
You said me. I think with the situation in Toronto, they have pieces that can help. Emmanuel quickly, RJ Barrett. I'm looking at Brandon Ingram was out for the end of the season last year, but BI's on that team now too. That provides him a lot of upside and benefit. Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl. If available, I take Kaman Malawatch. Based upon my mock draft I'm doing right now, I think Kaman would provide a lot of value whether he starts or off the bench. Because after Jakob, it's Colin Castleton. Colin Castleton used to play with the Lakers on a 2-way deal. Not a bad player, but talent-wise and athletic-wise, he's not the most athletic center. He's more of like a fundamentally sound, kind of like a Plumlee type of center. And I'm sure you guys know Mason Plumlee and all them, like a very like anchored down, like fundamentalist type centers. But if you can get raw athleticism and Kaman's available, you take him. We already talked about Kaman a little bit and how beneficial he can be being a lob threat or rim threat, especially for guys like RJ that will drive to the basket. Emmanuel quickly, Brandon Ingram gets up his shots. Scotty Barnes he's a high motor to go and get buckets. I think having a guy like Kaman will be able to provide a lot of tenacity on the offensive boards, defensive rebounding, if he doesn't come across any issues like he did. Because physicality is going to be a thing for him. He's 7'2" or 7'1", 7'2", but physicality is going to be a thing that he's going to have to adjust to and be strong about. Derek Lively had to go through that phase and we're just talking about Duke centers right now. Derek Lively went through that phase, but he rounded out pretty solid and well, learning from guys like PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, I would say, and thrived in the position that he was in. So I could see Kaman being a good piece and prospect coming out of Duke, especially with you having Cooper Flag, Khan, and then you have, Kaman. So I think Kaman will be good at that spot. And especially, too, if they make a trade and they land in like a big name, if they do, that's a good anchoring center to have for the future and that they could really continue to work on his craft. I know the Raptors are known with Masai Ujiri, like they're known for building up good teams and teams that stay prevalent and relevant. Obviously, the East is a very tight conference to be in right now, and it's a lot of competition, but it's very open-armed for them to compete and make a run if they do. RJ can make strides. Brandon Ingram comes back healthy. Scotty Barnes has a lot of upside talent to be an all-star. So I really like Kaman at that spot, whether he's a backup or he's a starting center for the Raptors going into next year.
I like that.
I like it. I got the one and only, not the dairy, but Mr. Derek Queen from Maryland.
That's a good pick.
Okay.
I got him going 9. Now, the reason why I got him going 9 is
that's a good pick.
With the Raptors team, right? They've got a lot of upside wings. RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, Grady. His last name is unfortunate, but Grady Dick. They got Ochai, Abaji. They've got a lot of really nice young talent there. It's all like it's starting to come together. You know, Jared Rhoden was a late season acquisition. He played well. You kind of don't know what's going to happen with Emmanuel quickly, but if he is still there, then that just adds to it. Probably they will need a point guard, but I'm thinking like just with the possibility of Jakob Poeltl with his game and with Derek Queen, that's a really nice big man duo. Because again, it goes back to who's able to complement, supplement, who's able to do what the other can. And for Jakob, he's a great defender at the paint, physical, big, beefy, big body. Derek Queen has that to his game as well, but he's got the finesse, he's got the soft touch, he's got the handle. The shooting ability is there, the potential is very high. And I was very impressed with what I saw from Derek Queen in this NCAA tournament. I feel like he really showed, not only was he one of the best big prospects like centers, but he was, to me, one of the best players in the country this past year. I mean, he just across the stat line was balling, was able to contribute every way as a scorer, as a rebounder. He's improving as a defender. That's probably his weakest asset, is the weakest part of his game is his defensive ability, but he still averaged, over a block a game. So I feel like some bit of it is overblown. And I feel like if you pair him in a system next to a big like Jakob or Chris Boucher off the bench, they can help him as far as like being a little bit more athletic, while he opens up the floor as a playmaker. He opens up the floor with his handle, with his low post ability. And I feel like he has like that nice blend of being like an old school big, but also being a new school style. And I feel like moving forth, if I'm the Raptors, you're a team that you're kind of in, and you mentioned BI's coming back. They got, he was at the end of his deal with New Orleans. They got him restructured his deal. But if I'm Toronto, you gotta just shoot for the moon. You know what I'm saying? You gotta look for upside right now because they have enough pieces, in my opinion, to be a potential playoff contender. This Eastern Conference this next year is going to be a lot more open than people realize. With my Celtics, with them having to, figure out what's going to go on in the aftermath of Tatum's Achilles injury, plus the second apron. The Knicks, the Knicks are there, but are they going to be able to get over the hump with a new coach? Questions are going to be asked. Indy, right? Everyone's watching Indy, seeing, is this sustainable? Is this going to be something that they can keep up going to the next year? And I think they will, but you just never know. Cleveland might lose 3 of their 4 best players in one offseason. There's so much shakeup. So if I'm Toronto, I'm looking at who can step in right now, who can provide us with a spark. And with Derek Queen, I see guys like Alperen Sengun in his game, who was a first-time All-Star this past year for the Rockets. I also see some Zach Randolph to his game in terms of as a big body. I see just a player that has a soft touch that's able to contribute and bring an energy. That was I got to get like my official I had on here. But I really love Derek Queen's energy. I feel like he just has that infectious type of energy. And, he's not the most explosive athlete, but I don't think that Massage is looking for that. I feel like they're trying to build back to what they had in 2019. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people felt like that was just a one-year thing. Kawhi came through. They win a finals. But people forget they came back in 2020 with a very well-balanced roster. Granted, Siakam wasn't able to get them over on that leap. But if you have a team with B.I., R.J. Barrett, Scotty Barnes, Quickly, Pirtle, Grady, Abaji, Boucher, Lawson, a guy like Jacoby Walter, who was in limited minutes when he was healthy, showed he's got a lot of talent too. I mean, they just got so like Toronto. To me, Toronto and New Orleans are very similar. Like they've got a crap load of talent. It's just all about putting it all into the proper spots. But in my opinion, they got an embarrassment of riches. Like they're not lacking in talented young players. Because that's the difference. It's one thing to have a bunch of like old guys, but just a bunch of veterans, right? So it's one thing to have that. But when you got a team that has a bunch of young talent, it's now about how do I place them in the right place? How do I put them in the right position to succeed? And I do feel like Massage is a good enough GM to do that. And I think that they've got the roster to be able to push for, at worst, a play-in spot. But I think they could easily, with a fully healthy squad, be a playoff team. That's just my opinion. You know, I don't think it's too audacious. I don't think it's too crazy. I feel like just given how open the East is going to be, and just the NBA in general, I think there's room for a lot of teams. And I want to bring up too, in the Sweet 16, he put up 27, 5, and 2 steals. And in the 3 March Madness games he played, he averaged 18.7 points per game.
He had that game winner in one of those games. That was
a game winner, right?
I was like, that's beautiful. That's energy of touch.
Another guy that I've seen him get compared to, it was like both like a past and a present, but for the present, Naz Reid. Naz Reid has been a big reason for why the Timberwolves have made it to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. And then a guy who was a contributor on some very good Eastern Conference teams and Western Conference teams as a big who wasn't the most athletic but was skilled, could shoot the ball, could handle it, was very ahead of his time. But Brad Miller from the Kings and the Pacers back in the day and the Bulls, was able to play for a long time because he was skilled. He could play defense well enough, but he was a great shooter, great passer for someone his size. So I think Derek Queen is someone who stays around for a long time and could very well develop into an all-star or a borderline all-star caliber player. So that's my pick.
So let's try to go through these a little bit quicker. So we're at 2 hours. So at number 10 now, got the Houston Rockets. This pick's from the Phoenix Suns. This is where I had Derek Queen. I'm not going to go too much because you pretty much just said it. 6'10", 7-foot wingspan. He has high creation upside. Very highly skilled big man. Great footwork. Shot 52% from the field on over 11 field goal attempts per game. He's one of 2 freshmen, along with Michael Beasley, doing 08. This century to average 16-plus points, 9 rebounds, a steal, and a block per game while shooting 50% or better from the field on over 11-plus field goal attempts. He joined Joe Smith last season and did it in 93-94 as the only freshman in Maryland history to record such impressive numbers. So this is a guy coming in right away who can give you instant offense and rebound for you. He could be a double-double threat. He might not be a double-double right away in NBA, but he's going to come in right away and give you some instant offense, spreading the floor, who can attack the basket, and can disrupt things defensively a little bit. He's not an elite athlete. He doesn't have a great vertical pop or anything of that nature. But I think his defensive positioning and having a long wingspan and being 6'10" will be able to disrupt some shots at the rim. He has an NBA ready frame at 245. So he's really strong on his rip throughs, on face ups, finishing at the basket. He scored 71% of his points on transits and drives, which kind of surprised me when I was looking at some of the film, because he's not really a guy who's really athletic, who I expected to be able to get on transition that well. So that kind of shocked me when I saw that. With Derek Queen, he has good pace and footwork. I think he's going to be a really good pick and pop player at the next level. I think him with Amon Thompson, Houston, at pick and pop. With Amon Thompson's downhill ability attacking the basket, and teams going to have to worry about, oh, wait, Derek Queen's out there. He can really shoot the ball. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Who are we going to guard? Who are we going to stop? That's something I feel like that's going to be scary to have to guard. And remember, you still have Alfred Sengun on that team, his playmaking ability. They're going to be a Cam Whitmore. Like, you have a lot of young dogs on that team. He's also someone I think is a solid rebounder. He's going to be able to ease some pressure off Alfred Sengun, who has been the double-double machine for that team this past year. I think he should have been an All-Star this year, Alfred Sengun. But I think as he continues to progress, he'll be an All-Star. But I think he'll be someone who could take that pressure off him. And he had a 77% putback rate, so he creates second chance opportunities. He averaged over 2 offensive rebounds per game this past year. And he's someone who also could be a really good secondary playmaker. He's a great short roll passer, and he knows how to diagnose when the help is coming. So Derek Queen, he reminds me of Alfred Sengun a little bit as well. Like you said, Zebo, Nas Reed, those are my comparisons for him. He doesn't have great lateral quickness or vertical explosion.
Yeah,
I think that will hurt him in the NBA. He needs to, I feel like he could improve his conditioning a little bit just to get a little bit more athletic. And I want to see him, he could shoot just the mid-range, but I want to see him get better from three-point land. 20% from three last season. That will need to improve in the modern pace and space NBA. But he did shoot 76% from foul line and 46% on median mid-range jumpers. So he has a mid-range game. Like, he's butter from there. But he needs to extend that range, get consistent from three-point land. Because if you want to be a stretch 4, stretch 5, you want to increase your value and be able to play on the court in today's NBA, you got to be able to shoot the three ball. Especially if you want to see minutes in the NBA, especially when you're kind of limited defensively. That's where your better butt is going to be. So, what you say?
So the shot making ability from the perimeter is definitely there. But the skill and everything else that he does.
A lot of Nas Reed. I think a little. He's like a less athletic Nas Reed. That's where the Zebo comparison comes in a little bit too, because he has the.
I've seen people on Maryland's Reddit call him like a baby Jokic. I think that might be pushing it, but I mean, who knows? Who knows?
People calling Hanson Yang baby Jokic, but I have him way later in the draft. He'll be the next. What? I have the Chinese guy. People call him baby Jokic. That's what they're calling him.
Okay.
Hanson Yang. Yeah, he'll be in the next episode, mid to late first round.
All right, Armani, you got Houston. You got your Houston pick.
Yeah, I agree with DJ's picking Derek Queen. I feel like the reason why there's going to be some movement that happens with this team potentially, and there's a chance that this pick can be gone if they do trade and land a big star. But Alperen Sengun is really talented at the center position for that team. He's really talented, in my opinion. If you can get a motor guy like Derek Queen, it'd be your second complimentary big man behind Sengun, you have a problem that you have to deal with interior-wise for years to come, because Sengun is still pretty young and he's still trending upwards. Amen Thompson, and then you look at guys like, I don't even know the situation, like, you got Cam Whitmore on that team, slept on. You got Reed Shepard on that team. You got Jalen Green. You don't know what's going to happen with him. Tari Eason, Jabari Smith. Like, there's a lot of upside and talent on this team. Fred VanVleet's on that team still. Like, there's a lot of upside and talent. So then if you add a guy like Derek Queen to that mix, I just feel like it just creates a lot of ruckus for teams to try to handle and tame interior. And I feel like they have the ability to create a lot of foul trouble for teams because of that. Which is beneficially good, because a lot of times you got Jokic and then you have your substitute center come in. It's like, okay, like there's a drop off. Steven Adams has been the backup center this past season, but like he's strong. He's still a solid anchor. He's one of the strongest players in the NBA, they say. But at the same time, like you have to focus and key in on the fact about trying to produce young energy and talent, and knowing that once Sengun's off the court, you have upside as well. And then you can also complement and run them both together too at times. You never know, to where you have a 1-2 punch at your power forward and your center. Thompson could run the 3. Thompson could run the 2. You got Jalen Green on the court as well. Like they have versatility in Houston that I love so much. And even the jump that they made this past year, like I feel like adding a guy like Queen, even from competing in the Big Ten as he did, he drew a lot of national attention to himself because of his physicality. We talked about his trend with Zach Randolph. I feel like that's a very, very good comparison, for the simple fact Zebo was, very aggressive inside, didn't tolerate no BS, and was just tough. And I feel like Derek Queen has that ability to be that type of player.
Exactly. Yeah. Derek Queen, I feel like it's going to be
He's going to be a problem.
Fringe all-stars is stealing for me. I feel like he can maybe get one in his career. He really maxed out.
I mean, I think it just kind of matters where he goes. But wherever he goes, I think he's going to be a contributor. But I have someone else picked at pick 10, a player that I feel like is very slept on, but I think also has a lot of skill, and I think Houston would utilize him well. But I got Colin Murray Boyles at pick 10.
That is high for him.
Now I know that's high for him.
High. I was not that high on him.
But I think that his
High.
skill,
yeah,
I think his skill,
that's cool though.
Even though as an undersized 4, I think his skill is already so refined, but he also plays physical, and I like that. And I feel like Houston is trying to build that strong culture. They're trying to build kind of like a blue collar feel to them.
I like Draymond Green. You reminds you?
And I think I see a lot of Draymond to his game. I see Paul Millsap. I see
PJ
some
Tucker.
Anthony Winston, rest in peace. I see some Julius Randle. And then on like the lower end, I see, Grant Williams, Danny Fortson.
PJ Tucker.
Yeah. But I think just as a player, right, he averaged 17, 8 boards, 2 assists, 1 block, almost 2 steals. And he showed his versatility in games like versus Arkansas, versus Coach Calipari. He put up 35, 7, and 4 steals on 12 of 16 shooting. And if you watch that game, he was dominating in the low post the entire time. You know what I'm saying? But if need be, you had to respect the jumper, and you had to respect if he put the ball on the ground. So I think that kind of the impact that Derek Queen will have is similar to what Colin Murray will have. Is like they're both bigs that are highly versatile, highly skilled, and they're able to put the ball down on the ground and be the team's ball handler if need be. And that's anytime you have a big man that can bring the ball up and you're not like, dude, why you got the ball? Like you're like, oh no, Colin got it, I ain't worried. Or Derek got it, I ain't worried. That is always an asset. That's always going to benefit you. And I feel like Houston right now, they've got a lot of their team figured out. What they really have to figure out is who is the number 1 guy. And if you bring in a guy like Colin Murray, he is not trying. Like he's himself said, look, I just want to go out and I want to add to a winning team. I want to be the missing piece. I want to be able to come in and contribute. He's saying all the right things. But what I get from all that, because he compared himself to a lot of like versatile guys. He brought up Draymond as a guy in comparison to. And that to me shows he's understanding of like there's a role that every player plays. He's a star right now. He was a star at South Carolina, but he's understanding that that's probably not going to be when I get to the league. However, I can still play a very valuable role, be one of the most impactful players on the team, and thus the team gets the most out of him. And I think that with a player of his type, that he is able to play defense on and off ball better than Sengun. He's able to add a size element that Whitmore or Jalen Green don't have. And then, he can be a great pick and roll threat for Thompson or Fred VanVleet. So I think there's a lot of upside here with if he goes to Houston. And I think Coach Udoka would love him. They just signed him to a max, I believe like a max agreement with his coaching contract. So knowing the type of coach that Coach Udoka is and looking at Boston, just that physical play, I feel like Colin Murray Boyles is exactly the type of player. And yes, it might be a little high, but it will make sense. It'll make more sense than any other player for him to go there with his versatile skill set.
That's well said, my brother. All right, number 11. Who's number 11? Portland Trail Blazers. I got Carter Bryant from Arizona going here. 6'8" wing, 7-foot wingspan. Freakish athlete. I mean, he's up there too. Like, one of the best in the class. It might be him, Edgecombe, Bailey, like those guys. Just wow. We talk about athleticism. He maneuvers extremely well. He moves great without the ball. He's one of the best cutters without the ball. Shooting 61.5% and 70% at the rim. He has impressive verticality when contesting shots, averaging a block per game. He had 5.8 block percentage. He has a great motor about him, plays hard on both ends, makes hustle plays. I think he's going to be one of those gritty guys on the team one day that's going to help them win. I feel like he fits good with a Portland Trailblazers team that kind of needs a jumbo-sized wing, because you had Shaden Sharp kind of playing some small forward, and he's kind of 6'5", 6. That's kind of too short for a small forward. You want someone who's like 6'7" to 6'9", range 6'10" to play small forward. I know they have Tamani Camara there. Then you have Viha, but they could use a wing who's really athletic, who can get up and down the floor in a hurry, who could defend, and who has some offensive upside. Because, yeah, Matisse Thybulle is there, but he's nowhere near. He's an offensive liability. Brian, he has some potential as a stationary shooter, 45% on on unguarded catch and shoot threes, and 36% on catch and shoot 3-pointers. Solid bounce, footwork on his shot. He'll need to get quicker with his release, though. I think if he doesn't get quicker with his release, his shot will get blocked a lot at the NBA level, especially against guys like Anthony Davis or Victor Wembanyama. He needs to tighten up his handle, improve his shot creation. But he's someone who I think has really high upside. I think he'll be a solid NBA wing. That's his ceiling as a solid starter. On the low end, maybe like a good rotational player off the bench. He reminds me a little bit like PJ Washington or Trevor Ariza. I think those would be my comparisons for him. Yeah, so
I like Carter Bryant a lot. I did some scouting on him. I think he's a player that definitely has a lot of upside. But I'll let Armani go. But I think Carter Bryant is going to be actually a very slept on pick. But
Carter Bryant has a lot of he just like has a lot of momentum. I feel like that provides a lot of energy to a team for sure. At the pick I got for Portland, I picked Asa Newell. He's out of Georgia. I like his Dylan's hyped. I like his tenacity and energy. He competed really well at Georgia this past season. Athletic ability. The thing with Portland, and it really bothers me a bit, is like what they're gonna do, because they have the pieces to grow and flourish and do really good, but then it's like they don't close it out, or they fall short, or they're getting hit with injuries by players. So getting a guy like Newell, I feel like would just provide a lot of like upside that we talked about, kind of like with Carter Bryant as well. Carter Bryant, Asa Newell, I feel like they kind of fit in that same mesh. Like those are raw, talented athletes that will run the rim. Like they'll go do what they need to do to contribute and be an impact player for this team. Like you're not going to expect them to like go get you 25 a game or anything like that, but they're going to provide tremendous value. That tries to impact winning and trying to create a culture. But I have Newell. I think just based upon, his comparisons, he kind of is compared to like David Lee a little bit. David Lee was a skilled power forward before he got injured when Draymond took over. I think that's a good complementary piece to compare somebody to, especially at being 6'10". He's weighing at like 225. I think his body frame can get a little bit stronger. Obviously he's young, being a freshman, coming out of Georgia from the SEC. But I think if he's able to develop like a stronger body frame, he can develop his play style to be very physical, offensively, defensively, and could be a very solid two-way player. He's listed as a power forward, but I'm pretty sure you could slide him down to, if you want to run small ball, you can put him at the center so he can go rim run, be athletic. You can also run him at the 3 if you need to sometimes to space out the floor, possibly if they still have Jeremy Grant there. Jeremy Grant could play the 3, play the 4, and then you got, DeAndre if he's still there at the 5. So I really like Asa at that pick. And also too, like Carter Bryant as well. What you got, Dylan?
I also got Asa Newell, but
good.
I feel like
I had him high, man. I had him lower.
Oh, sorry, Asa, not Asa. It's either
yes, Asa.
You're getting the name wrong. You know the brother.
That's a biblical name. It's a biblical name. But yeah, Asa Newell. I got all my notes. It's not. They're all in like different order. But as a player, Asa Newell. What impressed me a lot with his game is that he's got an advanced low post game for someone his age. He was a true freshman, like Grant's thinking true freshman, and local kid from Atlanta, goes to UGA. I mean, you couldn't write a better story.
That's true.
As a player, he's very active on the glass. He's very active in terms of creating opportunity for himself. He can put the ball on the ground if need be. His shooting ability, he's got a really nice jump shot. His shooting ability definitely is going to have to get more consistent. He's definitely going to have to, ascend to another level with it. But you see the intangibles there. You see the skill. You see the ability to space the floor. And you see the ability to be active on the glass. And right now with Portland, they don't know what they're going to do at the big man spot because likely DeAndre Ayton is going to be a trade chip. You know what I'm saying? They're going to see what kind of value they can get from him, given that he's still young enough and he's played long enough that there's enough, okay, we got something here. But at the same time, right, this is a team that Portland, like they were, they kind of flirted with playing potential. But outside of Klingon, you don't have any other bigs. And you don't have any bigs that can create for themselves. Like, Denny kind of plays like a mix between the 1 through the 4. He's a very versatile Swiss Army knife type of player. Then you still got, you still have Jeremy Grant as your veteran, but you don't really have a young big prospect outside of Donovan Klingon who you can really sit to yourself and say, hey, we can build up and build around this guy. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I hope that they find a way to get, Rob Williams, Time Lord. I hope they find a way to get my guy involved. But he's got to stay healthy. Plus, he's a purely defensive big. But with Asa, you're getting scoring. You're getting rebounding. And the defensive ability is going to get there. But he's got the instincts. And he's got to work on getting better as a finisher in the paint. But that comes with strength. That just comes with adding more weight. That comes with that consistency. So I feel like he would fit really well with the roster. I think him and Scoot would play well off each other. And then, whatever happens with Shaedon and Anthony Simons, I think they would also love, his ability to collect offensive rebounds. Because you mentioned the David Lee comparison. David Lee used to get called the daily double because he was great at getting offensive rebounds.
Yeah, it's double machine.
So if Asa Newell, comes into the league and is able to even achieve, a third of that, then that's a pick well spent. And I feel like Portland is a team that also is like knocking on the door of like reclaiming, that like playoff success and relevancy. I feel like Chauncey Billups is building a really good culture there. They just need to get more. They need to get more size. They're good on the wings, in my opinion. I feel like wings they're set, but they need some more. They need some more bigs.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. A good take. We're at 12 now. Chicago Bulls.
There. Don't worry. Almost there.
This is okay. Chicago Bulls. This is where I had Igor Demon right here. Going to Chicago Bulls. They could use a jumbo. I mean, you do have Josh Giddey there, but I feel like I don't know because Josh Giddey you might want to trade him, and look at the Bulls roster right now. So they have point guards. They have Kobe Wright there. You have Josh Giddey. Kobe Wright can play the 2 though. Lonzo's there. But Igor Demon's a guy who can't just only play the point due to his height. He could play the 3 if you want him to. He could play the 2. It all depends how you want to use him. But he's an elite passer, great vision, great size. He's arguably probably the best passer in the class. I mean, this guy can tower over you 6'9", can see over the defense. Sets teammates up for easy baskets. Some of his passes with the speed and the velocity on them, the vision, his feel for knowing when his teammates are, it's crazy. 5.5 assists per game, 34.5 assist percentage. He could draw 2 of defenders when at the point of attack when he's going to the rim. Dangerous initiator and facilitator out the pick and roll. He has an innate ability and skill to quickly reading help coverages and identifying the low man and what they're going to do defensively. His teammates shot 46% on pick and roll passes and 39% on threes. He's one of 2 freshmen, 6'6" or taller. The other was Lonzo Ball, to score 300-plus total points and average 5+ assists with an assist percentage of 30% or higher. So this is a guy who is capable of scoring the ball, but his main strength is making his teammates better at a high rate. And that's something you want as a teammate. You want someone who's going to make the game easier for you. And you already have a lot of that with the Bulls, with Giddey and Lonzo Ball. And you had another guy like that who's really talented. And if he molds well, man, he could play probably 3 positions: point guard, shooting guard, and small forward, because his height, 6'9". He's almost 6'10", and he's a point guard, which is crazy to me. I don't want to say Ben Simmons but but it's a little it's kind of crazy, like some of his feel for the game. His weaknesses, he kind of has a basic handle. And I watched a little bit of BYU and then some of the film. Like, he doesn't really have a lot of wiggle to his game to create easy shots for him off the dribble. Limits his ability as a scorer and to be a primary option. And he needs to improve his shooting, 27% from 3 on 4.7 attempts last season. And he looks a little bit hesitant with his shot out of the pick and roll. He doesn't really try to punish the defense for going under the screen. I think that's something, if he improves his shot, and his confidence will go up, and that'll make the defense pay, make him more of a dangerous threat offensively. And he does have solid mechanics on his shot and elevation, but I think with added strength and reps, I think his shot will get better over time. And he does need to get stronger so he become a better post defender and have more impact against forwards and centers at the next level, because I feel like he could be a guy who guard 4 positions at the next level, maybe even small ball 5s. Since he's 6'9", 6'10", he might still be growing because he's very young. But I think he reminds me a little bit like Ben Simmons, Lonzo Ball, Josh Giddey. I think he's in that type of realm of comparison-wise. He's going to, for me, Chicago. Igor, welcome.
Igor.
What you got, Dylan?
I got a player that I don't think either of y'all have on your draft board as this high, but I just covered him recently. But Cedric Coward from Washington.
I had him right after the lottery.
Okay. I feel like with the Bulls right now, they're a team that they need some more bucket getters, in my opinion. I feel like, with them getting rid of Levine, with them getting rid of DeRozan a couple years ago, I feel like they don't have much perimeter scoring. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you've got Kobe White, but the fall off from there, right? You go from Kobe White to Herter, who I like. Shout out to I forgot what they used to call him, but the Red Rifle or whatever. My son Kevin Herter. I like Kevin. I've always liked Kevin Herter. I like Ayo Dosunmu, but he's more of like I look at him more as like a Swiss Army knife type of player, able to do a bunch of things. Giddey had a really good year for them, and his all around ability cannot be denied or questioned, but he's not really a scorer. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think you want to bank your hopes on that. And then, I loved what I saw out of Matas Boutazelis, but I think his ultimate ceiling is like a Kirilenko type, where it's like, again, highly versatile, able to do a variety of things, a multitude, but they need more scoring. They need more guys that, hey, we need you to go out there and just put up a bucket. They don't really have that on the roster. So I feel like with Cedric Coward, on the other hand, he's a player who I loved, especially the fact that he was almost a Dookie. He was almost a Duke Blue Devil, and then last minute decommitted, to still go to the draft. And as a player, I feel like his potential is incredibly high. You know what I'm saying? He's 6'6". He's got over a 6, I think like a 6'10" or 6'11" wingspan. I should have put all my notes into one thing.
I think he has a 7'2" wingspan, Cedric Coward.
It's something like I'm like it's ridiculous. Like his arms are freakishly long.
It's like Kawhi Leonard-esque. Like his
yes,
height.
And Kawhi was a player.
He has big hands too. Like he could be a great defender, man.
Mm-hmm. Kawhi was mentioned as a player, as like an ultimate ceiling. Yeah. Okay. So Kawhi was mentioned as an ultimate ceiling comparison for him. 6'6". Only played 6 games this past year, but averaged 18, 7 boards, 4 assists, 40 from 3, 2 blocks. I mean, those are numbers that you can't ignore. Granted, it was in a small sample size, but you can't ignore numbers like that. He was good enough to get on Duke's radar. I mean, that's gotta speak to something. And he's a player who went the JUCO route before getting to Washington State and was going to go to Duke. So it's like he's a player that's shown grind. He's shown hard work. He has shown that resilience. A couple other guys that he's been compared to: Chris Middleton, Michael Redd, Jarace Walker, James Jones. I mean, obviously, yeah, the Kawhi is the ultimate ceiling and the James Jones is the ultimate floor. But if he's somewhere in the realm of a Chris Middleton or Michael Redd, that's an amazing pickup for the Bulls. You get a guy that can space the floor, which is something that they something that they had some struggles with, the shooting from deep. You get a guy that can space the floor, can create his own shot, and is active and consistent on the defensive end. So if I'm Chicago, I'm thinking about we might lose Giddey, or the defenses are going to be so keyed in on Kobe White. So let's make his life easier, or let's make Josh Giddey's life easier by getting a guy that can catch and shoot well, can play on ball, and has a lot of tantalizing potential. So Cedric Howard is my pick for the Bulls.
I kind of have like a wild card pick. I'm going kind of based off of like what the versatility can be like if he was to be on the team. I picked Liam McNeely from UConn. I know it's a lot lower projections for him, but I think most beneficial. He can provide a lot of value for that team because he's one of those guys where he's not necessarily a plug and play type of player, but he's a player that can flow into an offensive system, and that's something that I feel like the Bulls are going to need to prioritize if they want to compete in the Eastern Conference for years to come. Obviously, going to UConn, going to a big program, they fell under expectations for sure. Following back-to-back national championship runs, and then this past year in the Big East, they got ran through pretty tough by a lot of teams that had a vendetta against them. But I think McNeely at 6'8", he has good upside. He's NBA ready, frame a little bit. I think that he will have the ability to shoot the ball. He'll have the ability to be able to contribute and provide, the energy that the team may need that can complement the players that are around him that are like already established there. It's a lot to be seen more so on the simple fact that he has kind of a little bit of not unpolished game, but it's kind of like he just does what he does, and he does it like at a good level to where he can compete. But just from a versatility standpoint, I feel like you can put him at different positions, whether it's the 3, whether it's the 4. You can space the floor out if you need him to. He can knock down shots if you need him to. So that's why I have him like at that spot with the Bulls.
Like that. So we have 2 more to go.
I don't think you can go wrong with any of our picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now that I'm rethinking now, kind of Dylan's point, I'm like Igor Devin. I mean, they do have Lonzo Ball in there, so then Lonzo Ball has had a lot of injuries, so I'm thinking that.
Yeah, they do.
And then Josh Giddey could potentially trade him.
Yeah, like I will say this: if they somehow lose, I think they're likely going to lose Lonzo. I think Lonzo is not going to be there no more. But
there's a chance he's not there.
If they lose Giddey, then yes, then they might go for Igor, or if Kasparis is still there, might pick him up. If Jeremiah Fears slips in the draft, I don't see him falling that far.
You have to take him though.
But you would have to, because it's just best player and positional need. But I'm just going off of like them not getting them keeping Giddey. Because I feel like Lonzo is going to be going elsewhere. But if they keep Giddey and they don't lose, if they keep Giddey, then I think that they go with a 2 guard. I think they need someone that can be a valuable running mate to Kobe White, make his life easier. So that's my sense.
So at number 13 now we have the Atlanta Hawks from the Kings. This one's an interesting one. Man, who did I put for this one?
ATL shouted.
I think I put. What do you say?
I said ATL, shawty.
Oh,
I wasn't gonna
your
say the other
placement.
thing.
Oh, man.
I was about to say the other thing where people say ATL. If you know where I was gonna go with it. So,
So at 13, man, this one was tough for me. I feel like this guy was once like predicted a top 5 pick, but then like he had some tough outings in France. Nolan Trayor, France guard, 6'4", 19,
Freshman.
6'8" wingspan. Yeah, I feel
Okay.
like a lot of people are sleeping on him. I think he's a great downhill attacker, really good passer, really good 3-level scorer. I mean, this guy, he had a strong finish to the season for St. Quentin. He had 2 20-plus point outings in early May. He averaged over 12.3 points and 4.7 assists per game, 41, 31, 71 shooting splits. His efficiency needs to improve, but he is an acrobatic finisher at the rim. I mentioned Fairs earlier with Kyrie Irving type dribbling. His acrobaticness at the rim, Trayor, is elite. It might be probably the best among the guards in this class. He's not afraid to absorb contact. He's willing to go into the big man, put his body to and finish strong at the rim. And he's great with finishing with either hand over tall trees that you're going to see in the NBA. He has exceptional body control. He's swift when attacking the rim, heady passer, 37.11 assist percentage, better than 96% of the players in the BCL, according to 3 Steps Basket. And he needs to improve. His turnover percentage wasn't crazy when I saw it for someone who has the ball a lot, 11.38. Wasn't too high, which is lower than 57% of the players in that span. He's a ball hawk defensively. I think he could be a really good defender guarding backcourt players in the NBA, whether it's ones or twos. He puts a lot of effort on that end as well. I think he could be someone who could come in, back up Trae Young off the bench to start off his career. And if they say they do, the Hawks want to end up trading Trae Young, save Trae Young, ask for a trade next season or the next 2 years, because eventually he wants to win. He's getting to that point of his career in his prime. You at least have a backup guard now who has a lot of talent, who you can mold into maybe Trae's backup in the future. You never know what could happen there. So he's a guard who I think if I'm the Hawks, I'm looking at potentially drafting and keeping. He does need to get stronger. He'll get pushed. He's only 185 pounds around there. He'll get pushed around on both ends of the court. He's a streaky shooter. He has a nice shot, soft mechanics, but he is a streaky shooter. I'll need to improve to maximize his talent. To me, he reminds me of like a less shifty Darius Garland and a shorter LaMelo Ball. He is a really good passer, scoring on all 3 levels, exciting player, acrobatic finish at the rim. But yeah, he reminds me of like a shorter version of LaMelo and a less shifty Darius Garland. I think he's going to be, if he drops to 13, he'll be one of the steals of this class because he was once projected as like top 10, top 5. And people were getting worried because he was inconsistent. But then he had some games where he was balling out. And I'm like, teams need to not sleep on this guy. This guy can be special. Last year, Nike Hoop Summit, he was killing USA.
He was.
Yeah, Eurocamp Adidas last year, everybody was like, yo, this guy is the top French. This guy's the top international prospect next year's class. Then he had some inconsistencies, and everybody started cooling off on him. Oh, if you guys let him drop, he'll be one of the steals in this class, and then they're going to regret it. I think he still goes lottery.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That's where I would have him at, too. You look at Atlanta and their situation right now. They really have a situation to where Trae Young can leave at any second, any time, and not want to be there anymore. And you kind of got to make sure you got to have a backup plan. Getting a guy like Trae, he was top 5. Obviously, you had Coop, Ace. I don't think everybody knew Dylan Harper was going to be good, but I didn't think we would think Dylan Harper would be a top 3 player. Anyways, so he's in there now, and then Trayor was kind of in that area with them. VJ Edgecombe was in that area with them too. VJ Edgecombe was in that area because he was really hyped up. But Trayor was one of those guys as well from the Hoop Summit. I do remember Eurocamp as well. Like he did play really solid. And then I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It's not even to be funny. I did forget about him a little bit because obviously we got so much hype around college basketball this year with Coop Flag and Duke. And then also too with the rise and stardom of how the tournament went as well. So you kind of that's the thing about international players. You kind of forget about them sometimes because you're so used to just the American game that we're so used to watching all the time every single day.
Unless they're a Wemby where they're like generational.
Yeah, generational talent. You're like
or Luka,
well known, but
those guys.
he's been talked about for a while now. And I think that's a good piece to have if your team is going in a direction to where Trae Young doesn't stay or he's unhappy or he gets hurt. You have a complimentary piece like him, especially losing. That's unfortunate, and I kind of figured it would happen, but DeJounte Murray and Trae Young didn't work out, and it was kind of expected, just based upon both of them being guards, and also I
wanted to work.
DeJounte's style of play is a little bit more, facilitating, and I'm trying to push pace with the ball, defend. Trae needs the ball in his hands to thrive and be a good player. So maybe having a guy like Traore on that team, he'll be able to come off the bench or even complement. Because, Dyson Daniels is a good defensive shooting guard this past season. He played really good for them. I think he's one of the best.
Has some promise. So see how he develops, gets stronger.
Yeah.
And stuff.
So the team is in a good direction to develop and grow. And if you had a guy like Nolan, I think it will help benefit them greatly. I think his pace is good. He can operate at different levels. Like, he can change his speed. He can play fast. He can play slow. He can set you up. He can break you down. He can come off the screen and go downhill. So I think having versatility at the guard position for Atlanta will be really good for them. Will Traore? What you got
Dylan's
doing
over there? Like, having flashbacks to I heard yarning.
No, man, it was even as soon as you brought up DeJounte and Trae, I was like, oh man, all that hope.
I wish it worked. I like DeJounte. DeJounte is one of my favorite guards.
I wanted it to work so bad. I was in Atlanta at the same time, so I was hyped, man. I was like, okay, y'all actually might be worth a damn, okay? Okay, let me not throw shots. Let me not throw shots. But I was really hyped and thinking they were gonna be able to balance each other out. But knowing Trae Young's time might come to an end, it's sad. I mean, I got to go to a lot of Hawks games in my time as a student at Clark, and then even graduating. So if he is to go, I'm not a Hawks fan, but I hope that the city of Atlanta makes sure hey, he did what he could. He gave his all. Great guy, great player, very fun to watch. Love Ice Trae. But given that the point guard spot, right, like you said, at any point Trae Young could leave. This is where I throw Kasparas. This is where I put him at. I think that he would fit really well. As a player who's able to create his own shot, distribute. The field goal efficiency is definitely the biggest concern I have, but I think it's going to be a situation where how Trae in reverse, his stock dipped versus how Dante Exum, his stock rose up. But with Kasparas, because he also can't, he made the jump from playing overseas to playing in college ball. I think they're going to look more at the film footage of him at FC Barcelona, and where he was averaging 19, 5, and 2 threes a game in that under-18 European Championship. And, because he kind of went through a weird period with the season. He started slow, finished iffy, but the middle of the season, he was hot. Him and Will Riley were a really good duo. Will Riley won 6th Man of the Year in the Big Ten. And Kasparas just was playing with a confidence, you know what I'm saying? He's got a moxie to him that you don't see often. I saw someone say that he has a little too much cockiness to his game. Someone said as a cautionary tale, of Mario Hezonja. But I feel like that's unfair. I feel
who said that?
It was a scouting report I read, his on-court demeanor, as far as just sometimes he gets he's feeling himself a little too much.
About who?
About Kasparas.
Kasparas from Illinois.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I see when some comparisons I saw, guys like Austin Reeves, who we talked about earlier, as a potential comparison with Khan, Goran Dragic. But taller, which I think is a very skilled.
That's a great comp. That's a skilled guard.
Goran was a dog. I don't care what no one says. Goran was that dude.
Yeah, he was.
He was a dog.
Brandon position.
He almost was an All-Star one year. I forgot.
Yeah,
2014.
he was.
Phoenix, like the AC.
He was,
the West was crazy.
He was like third team All NBA at one point, I believe.
I think Goran got 2 or 3 All-Star selections in his career. Like
no, he don't.
He didn't?
He almost made it though.
I think he had to made 1 All-Star though. I don't think he went his whole career without not making All-Star. Either with Phoenix or Miami, one of the two.
He made All-Star in
one
2018.
2018. Yeah. I'm like, I don't think he did not make one. Like at some point,
and then injuries kind of hurt him after.
Yeah. But like B Pod is another one that's like on the lower end. But I feel like if Caspers can get to that level defensively, so I really love the energy that B Pod brings on the defense. Even though he's self-aware to know, hey, look, I'm not the biggest guy, I'm not the most athletic, but I'm gonna give it my all. If I can see that type of energy from Caspers on the defensive end, the offensive end with the Reeves, the Dragic, some Bojan Bogdanovic. Well, I feel like physicality wise, they're built very similar. You know what I'm saying? Height, weight. A guy like Spencer Dinwiddie, and even a guy like Max Christie. If he can get his defensive ability to a Christie level, or the effort of a B Pod, and then the shooting of a Reeves, a Bogdanovic, or the shot creation of a Goran Dragic, all in all, you get a very talented player. You get a very versatile player. He had 10, 20-point games. Even though the efficiency was not great, he did finish the year shooting 44% from the field, 32 from 3, and 85-ish% from the free throw line. So I feel like that there's a lot to build off of. So I feel like Atlanta right now, they're trying to figure out, okay, we're likely going to, if Trey is gone, we're building the team around Jalen Johnson. We need to surround him with as many versatile players as possible. And Caspers fits the bill. So that's my pick.
I like that. So now we get to the final portion, the lottery. You know, it's been a long episode, fellas. We're getting deep in our bags. That's why.
Oh man,
deep, detailed stuff. Last one is San Antonio Spurs, 14. It's from the Atlanta Hawks. I have them here. I have them going with a big. I have Thomas Sorber from Georgetown, 19-year-old kid. Nobody saw him eventually get into even a lot of discussion. 6'10", 255, NBA ready body, 7'6" wingspan, and he's only 19. Like this guy, his strengths, defensive enforcer. He's one of the best defensive players in his class. Interior scoring, and he has great height, length, everything. He was one of 3 freshmen in NCAA history, joined Chris Webber, 1992. And this guy, Hammond Quaintance, in 2004, to average 14-plus points, 8-plus rebounds, 1.5 steals, and 2-plus blocks while shooting at least 50% from the field. Those are the only 3 freshmen in NCAA history to do that, according to StatHead. Incredible combination of size, length, and instincts defensively. He could be a defensive anchor at the rim. I think he could be a guy who could back up Wemby when Wemby needs a breather, and he still lose no defensive value on the court. A guy who could block shots, defend that rim, be an interior anchor, be a presence there down low, especially against teams in the West that you're going to have to worry about and go up against if you want to win, like the OKC Thunder. And I think if you guys drafted Dylan Harper earlier, if you were to keep him, then you can get that interior backup and enforcer and reassurance. Because one of the weaknesses Spurs have is the lack of depth at center behind Wemby. They need a big man who can, be a threat offensively, who can block shots. Zach Collins is cool, but he gets injured a lot, and I don't really trust him as my long-term backup big. Thomas Sorber is a guy who can be that.
He's in Chicago.
7.6 block percentage, average 2 blocks per game. He knows how to utilize his length and positioning to influence shots. Opponents shot 30.9% in the paint when he was on the floor last year at Georgetown. 45% with him off the floor. That's a 14.1% differential. He's not this impactful at the rim, but he can also get into passing lanes a little bit. And he's someone who had a 2.7. I forgot what percentage it was, deflection percentage or defensive percentage. But he was compared to like past stalwarts when I was watching the video. Anthony Davis, Ben Simmons, and Nerlens Noel defensively. I'm like, that's unique company. Like those guys in college, amongst the best freshmen we've seen defensively in college basketball ever. He excels in drop pick and roll situations. He'll need to improve his 3-point shooting, perimeter defense. especially at the next level. You got to be able to get out perimeter a little bit, hedge a little bit, and stuff like that in today's NBA, and spread the floor. But in terms of like being an interior scorer, defensive enforcer, and a guy who could crash a defensive glass and be a rebounding threat, I think he could be a great backup big for Wembanyama on the Spurs long term. And I think he could develop into a really good player down the line. Maybe even if he becomes a good shooter, maybe even play the 4 and have Wemby play the 5. We'll see how that happens. But he's really young too. He's only 19. And nobody expected him to even have the season he had at Georgetown. And he did things that not even Patrick Ewing did his freshman year in college. So I'm like, yeah, this guy, I think he's someone who will go in the late lottery, but he's someone who's a solid play finisher as well and sets great screens. I think he's going to be a good player in the NBA.
I think that's like a good
Kevon
one.
Looney. Yeah, Kevon Looney and Wendell Carter reminds me of.
Yeah. I looked him up right now, and I agree with you on the pick because you look at if Wemby's out the game, who do you have? You know what I mean? Zach Collins.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing.
Zach Collins ain't there, I don't think, like Dylan was saying too. But you gotta have somebody that can complement. Yeah, you gotta have somebody that can complement and support you when he's off the court because they get ramsacked in the paint when Wemby's not on the court because Wemby just his length covers so much ground in the paint interior wise. But Sorber, I looked at his comparisons. His comparison kind of I feel like a good one could be Roy Hibbert. Defensively, Roy Hibbert was a very strong. A modern day Roy Hibbert because Roy Hibbert was a little bit stiff, but at the same time he was impactful defensively for sure. And with how athletic these players are nowadays, and even how Sorber could become, I think that it'll translate pretty well for him to be a player like that. Just a player that defensively will provide a lot of tremendous value for them. Because obviously, if you have Wemby, you really don't need another guy to provide a lot of scoring because you got guards. You got, if they get Harper, they'll have a scoring guard. If you have, they'll have De'Aaron Fox there. Like, they're going to be good on the scoring side. And if they land a big trade and they get somebody huge, like, even if they let go of Harper because of a trade, like, they'll be fine. You're going to need anchoring, supporting cast pieces that can help support when Wemby's not on the court or when the big piece isn't on the court. So I like that. I like that take, DJ, and I agree with you on that one. Then what you got? Last one.
Their backup picks for the Spurs right now are like Bismack Biyombo and Sandra Mas. I don't know how to say his last name.
No, that's not gonna work.
Whatever you say.
It ain't gonna work.
They're both like 6'9". They're not even like 6'10" and up. I'm like, nah,
it ain't gonna work.
Thomas Sorber makes perfect sense for them.
That reminds me when Jamie Foxx had the Wally Zerbiak jersey when Kevin Garnett came on the Jamie Foxx show, and he's like, "Yeah, I got this Wally scissor."
No,
Zerbiak scissor. But y'all got my pick, Thomas Sorber. But I love that.
We all agreed at once. Damn.
Yeah, because I feel like again, you mentioned right without Wemby, what's going to happen to them? And they have to, it sucks, but you have to almost always have that as a contingency plan because we saw where they went from when he was there and he was playing. And then what happened when he was out the rest of the year
like crazy.
The blood clot stuff, right? It was a night and day difference. They make the De'Aaron trade. So it's like, oh, okay. Like we still got something here. However, we don't got Wemby. We you know what I'm saying? So you have to prepare for the worst with a player as unique as Wemby and given his skill set along with his body type. And with Sorber, he's like the complete polar opposite. And they say opposites attract. You get a guy like him who is in the paint big man. He's been compared to guys like Jusuf Nurkic. He's been compared to Wendell Carter, to Daniel Gafford, Onyeka Okongwu. NBA DraftNet as like an ultimate ceiling, they said Vin Baker, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like if any combination of those players fit perfectly next to Wemby, you know what I'm saying? And being able to bang down low, being able to keep the defense honest, mid-range wise at least, and low post, But overall, the focus is going to be about taking up space, being a defensive presence, getting rebounds, you know what I'm saying, and being able to convert on easy points. And that just makes life easier for whoever's at point for the Spurs, whoever, setting screens for guys like Vassell or Johnson or Castle to get open on the perimeter, create looks. If they got Dylan Harper there, rookies tend to utilize the pick and roll a lot, especially in today's NBA. So I think it's a pick that makes all the sense in the world. And I think that with his ability to play physical this young, I think that they're going to love that in San Antonio. That he's just got that kind of junkyard. He's got that junkyard mentality, but he's got the size where it's like, I can be a bully out there. And that's kind of what they need because, I like Sohan. He's kind of like, the Swiss Army knife, master of none, but I think he's better coming off the bench versus as in your
starting. He doesn't have the height.
Sochan is better off the bench.
Yeah, you give up a lot of height with him. He's got that weird one-handed jumper. It's like, okay, there's a lot of stuff going on.
His one-handed free throws, he do be making it better than when he was doing before. I was like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I guess.
Yeah. But he was making it. When I was watching the Spurs, I'm like, oh, he did one-hand free throw now. He's making it. Before, he was breaking them. I'm like, I'll go with this. I'll take that all day.
With stuff like that, I look at it as very gimmicky. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to really be either so specialized in your role, like Tristan Thompson or Miles Plumlee, Mason Plumlee, or you're a generational talent like Magic. And I think he's a little bit on the higher end of talent, but I don't see anything that screams like, oh my gosh, this is a guy that you build a team around. And you got to think about, you got to build a team around Wemby. Make no mistake. All things go through.
No questions.
So that's where a player like Sorber fits.
Just don't trade him like Sorber did. The other Texas team did. Their generational talent 3 years from now.
Oh no, I don't think they're going to do anything crazy like that.
Because I love Wemby has a chance to be like goated. This is another level. I say a lot. Luka is that dude.
There were reasons for why Dallas did what they did.
Wemby has a chance to be the greatest defensive player we've ever seen.
Yeah, I might not agree with Dallas's reasoning, but with San Antonio, the two-way ability that Wemby has, that gives him way more value than Luka, which is crazy to say, but just Luka being a defensive liability, playing a very heliocentric type of style where he has to have the ball the whole time. It's a tough thing to maneuver and manage. So I feel like honestly, Sorber fits there perfect. He doesn't need the ball a ton, but if need be, he can go out and create his own opportunities. That's something that I really like for any young big. Can you create in the low block? Can you create in the high post? Can you convert on easy attempts? Because if you can't do that, then hey, it's just not going to work. So that's my pick.
And that's the way to end. That's the way to end it. We all
we started all in agreement, and we end on agreement. So let's go.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, man, that's going to do it here for this great episode. 3 hours of great content, in depth. Lottery. It does and I got another podcast to go on.
Oh yeah.
We might have to tell him to scrap it because I love Phil, but man, he said, I need to go to the meetings.
You have to take a meet me nap.
I should be all right. Yeah, I should be all right. I might have to take a little pick me up.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, tell the people where they can find your work, y'all.
Gotcha. So y'all can follow me at Quan_solo.
You have it right there.
Blink the Black Con Solo. You can also follow my podcast page, Chilling with Dylan 1229. I've been very active, especially these last few weeks. Just trying to build that up. And you can also follow the official YouTube, Chilling with Dylan, Sports, Music, and Life Takes. And then you can also, since it was mentioned, I do cover the Pelicans as part of Fan Arch. You can follow Pelicans Daily on YouTube, growing actively, and inching closer to monetization. So, support a brother. But, just make sure to support and show love. It's been a blessing anytime to be able to collaborate with DJ, and he brings great people around like Armani. So y'all make sure y'all, support the brand, the DJ Hamilton Sports Show, because all he does is provide great sports content day in and day out. Hardest worker I know.
Thanks, my guy. And Armani?
Yeah. Primarily find me on Instagram, Armani, ARIMANI __. A little bit of stuff on LinkedIn too. You guys can find me on LinkedIn by my first and last name, Armani Jackson. Primarily, like I always tell everybody, I'm here to support you guys, help support your guys' platform, DJ and Dylan. Really proud of the work that y'all been continuing to do each and every day. Even in the interactions I've been having with y'all, even when I'm busy. I don't know if a lot of y'all know, but just trying to get into basketball operations side, it's been a grind, but just having y'all support and knowing that y'all have my back from afar, like it really does mean a lot to me personally. And just knowing that I have y'all, for real, one day, NBA, hopefully, or WNBA, either or, but, having y'all there. Right, for real. Get y'all some courtside tickets or something, a box.
There we go. There we go. See, that's music to my.
Hey, we're gonna have Dylan sitting by Tyrese Halliburton's dad. But for real though, I really do appreciate y'all though, and it's important. And before we, before we get off and do the outro, it's important that you guys do continue to support one another and that we support each other, because the aspiring talents that we do have and the aspiring abilities that we all do have as well, like it's important that we collaborate together and we come as one and we're able to make, great projects. Like we were able to pull out quality content in 3 hours. Like that's amazing. And it wasn't dull, it wasn't dry. Like it was genuine content. So just make sure we continue to support each other with that. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys appreciate the work, and shout to both of y'all, man. And this is June 21st. Just want to let y'all know tomorrow is the 5-year anniversary since I created my brand, man. This half a decade of consistent content.
Woo!
June 22nd, 2020.
That's good.
I might get emotional tonight. I'm not gonna lie. I've been putting together a little CapCut thing I'm gonna post tomorrow of like a lot of memories, like photos, some videos from like Big East Media Day and all that. And if you don't understand like how this brand like changed my life, man, like just like I would start off as a 19-year-old kid in a hot summer, just recording on my phone, my iPhone 4S at the time or whatever I had, 6 something. And then just recording, man, June 2020, 19, I said, let me create this podcast, man. Everybody said I knew my stuff, and especially basketball. And then people were encouraging me.
That's
my
awesome.
teacher said, DJ, you have the voice. When I used to work at KFC, people were like, yo, you have the voice of radio person. Even now, people say it. They were like foreshadowing. And I was like, you know what? Let me finally do it. And I was like, because I was getting worried. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to I have nothing on my resume for internships, because it was so hard to get an internship. And I was trying over and over. So let me create my own thing, put it on my resume. It's like DJ Sports Show. I started off with the podcast only. Just did that for a year and a half until I finally said, all right, let me add writing to my bag. Once I did internships, came to the co-creator of Sports Media Blog for Dan Cost, CEO. I still talk to him sometimes here to this day. I carry that blog. He said, DJ, your website is amazing. I want you to be the co-creator. On your resume for future years. I did Semi-Pro Sports Network for my guy, John. I did his magazine. He paid me for each of those 5 articles. He's a cool dude, man. He's awesome. Lives in Ohio now. He used to live in Florida. Mad cool dude. He covers semi-pro college sports, not mainstream sports. That kind of taught me like how to do deeper research, because I couldn't just find it on Google first page. So that helped me. And then that led me to wanting to write the website, because April Callum used to work at copy editor for Sports Media Inc. And she works for she was like an ambassador for Orlando Magic. And she said, DJ, I know you're just starting, but aside from a few grammatical errors, because I was just really starting to write, she's like, your writing's the best NBA I've ever seen. And that I was like, I still have the screenshot to this day, man. Snapshots. And my motivation highlight on Instagram. I think I probably archived it, but I still have it as like motivation. Like there's been a lot of highs and lows through this journey. I look at that sometimes when I'm low, and I'm like, nah, keep going, man. Keep going. Yeah. And then seeing all the people who have texted me through the years on social media or in person telling me like, yo, you've inspired me through who you are as a person, through the brand, etc. Like your consistency crazy.
Inspire me.
Say, yo,
Facts.
it's a
No, each day.
menu, man, because they said, yo, like I try to do what you do, and it's not easy. They said
It's a
every
grind every
week
day.
you're putting out something. They said, man, and then there's like this allowed me to get on radio, do sports announcing in college, be at Big East Media, cover the Westchester Knicks, interview all these great people, have their stories heard and told, man. Have guests on my show, have them give their takes and stuff like that too. Reach everywhere worldwide I could think of with the pod and website, like.
Yeah,
Man, me interview
That's
Rob,
awesome.
have him on my radio show. Get a sponsor last year. Like, man, man, I'm gonna get emotional tonight, man. 5 years, half a decade. That's that 19-year-old kid, man. He would have never believed me if I would have told him everything that would happen, man. Never.
That's awesome.
You're gonna meet Bro. You're gonna meet Chris Broussard. They're gonna say you have great work too. Like you're like, nah, man.
Media Day. You went to Big East Media Day too.
Do my brand, man.
Yeah.
Like Westchester
Big
Knicks.
buckets.
Black Sports Symposium too. If I don't create that DJ Sports Show, I don't meet Dylan. I don't meet the OGs from Atlanta because that one you had to get invited. That one wasn't just you can go. You had to get invited to that. It was like over 10,000 applicants. Only 1,500 people got in, and I put my website link as my way to get in to apply. If I don't get the shout out to Damien, bro, that guy in the barber seat, his customer, he was like a door to a new journey in my life. That guy I didn't even know. He said, yo, this thing called Black Sports Symposium. He told Damien told me, and I was there. I was like, oh, let me check it out. And it was the last day to apply, like December 2022. And I was going through a dark time that time, breakup. So let me apply to this thing. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I got in because it's been months. And then I get an email, March 2023. Oh, I got in. I just had a new job at the time. I said, yo, took my job. Hey, I didn't know this was going to happen, but I got to go to this event. And then I meet my brother Dylan down there, and we just hit it off like it was
That was
nothing.
awesome.
Like it's like we knew each other our whole life. You're like, yo, what's up, DJ? He's like, yo, I'm Dylan. And I meet the OGs, Danny, all them.
That's cool.
They've like had a dramatic effect on my life for the better. So I met Jazz down there, like at NABJ last year. Like so many people, man. So yeah, 5 years, man. I can't believe it, man. Half a decade, man. That's crazy.
Congrats, bro. Congrats. That's awesome. That's a blessing.
So 5 more years.
5 more years. 5 more
10
years. Drinking that water.
I got a bottle.
No.
Yeah, stay hydrated out here, man.
No, that's good.
Hopefully 5 years from now, I'm somewhere on whether radio or TV or something, or writing, covering team or something. So
hey, you build it, they'll come. That's what it comes down to. So you laying your foundation down, you setting the tracks, and all that's just gonna align. It's gonna go together, man.
Yeah, man. You gotta keep the faith, keep shot first, all that, man. So
you got our support always, man.
And I'm glad I have great people like y'all to come on the show, man. Like a lot of my greatest episodes, I feel like some of my favorite have been like what guest on, honestly, my interviews, and then also having guest talk sports because I don't like just hearing myself speak all the time. I like to have other people's opinions and like bounce off their opinions and stuff like that and their takes. Yeah. Those are always my favorite episodes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was a little spew. 5-year anniversary, man. That's huge. So being consistent is not easy, but any content creators out there, make sure y'all just start, man. Don't overthink it. Learn along the way. It's okay to make mistakes, stop bumps and bruises, and growing from it. But yes, y'all host DJ Hamilton, DJ Sports Show. Make sure y'all leave a like, subscribe, share everybody know love sports, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Show.